Recording going.
Beauty. Okay, we should be on any second. Now, there may be people there. I think I posted it in Discord recently, very recently, like this afternoon. And it's Friday night. People may be sat on their computer with nothing to do, and then they get a notification that the best damn podcast on the internet's gone live and they join us. You never know.
I picture 80.
Yeah. 80's got nothing better to do with his time than sit and watch us
Just
on
a
the internet.
cigarette. Just a cigarette and a blank stare.
And a Rochester ginger.
Yeah. A nice Roji and RGR Live. And here we are. Welcome to April Live News. And you've got all four of us for the first time in a while. I will put the chat on our video
Now we do.
call in a little while. I will go with what we've been up to this last month. For some of us, it's going to be a couple of months because I know Random has been doing other things, and Sparkle, can't remember if he was on the last one or not. Anyway, we will have a good old catch-up. So, what have I been doing? A few movies I've watched. I watched Class of 84, which is kind of a thriller. It's not really a horror, more of a thriller. Very reminiscent of kind of Stranger Things, that kind of thing. You know, bunch of kids in the 80s playing D&D, and they think a guy in the neighborhood is a serial killer. He's also a cop. And so it's a bunch of kids running around in the 80s. And just an interesting note about the film, in one of the scenes, they're in an arcade, and there's a Polybius arcade machine in the background behind them, which I thought was an interesting choice. I watched another film. Some of us talk to girls every now and then and have partners and things like that. A film you might like to watch together is Wicked Little Letters. It's a true story set in England in the 20s, in a little quiet village. And I should say the 1920s, not the 2020s, the 1920s. And people start receiving letters through the post. They're quite sweary, and they're like, "I saw you wobbling down the high street, you fat little foot bucket," or whatever. And it's a real story. And obviously in the 1920s, people were really offended by this, and it ended up in a court case. So it's a film about that. Now, it's not action-packed, as you might know. Watch it with your girlfriend.
It just sounds like texting, like social media.
Yeah.
Brought into the modern.
It's 1920s social media. It is keyboard warriors before keyboards. But it's an amusing little film. And I mean, like, your girlfriend or whatever is going to enjoy it because it's a nice, gentle film. You're going to enjoy it because you're watching serious actresses reading out words like fuck bucket and stuff like that. It's just a good film. Last night, I think it was, I was left to my own devices. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I've never seen Das Boot. I'm going to watch Das Boot. And then I saw, it's like 3.5 hours. I didn't have 3.5 hours. So instead, I watched an old movie I've seen before. I don't know why I was on a submarine vibe, but I watched Run Silent, Run Deep from 1958. But so I've still never watched Das Boot. I will at some point when I've got 3.5 hours.
Great movie.
Yeah. TV shows, again, one to watch with your partner or on your own if you like travel. It's a series called The Reluctant Traveller. There's 2 seasons of it, and it is Eugene Levy from Schitt's Creek. And he's 70-odd years old. He's quite a miserable old man in his ways. He's amusing, but he doesn't like travel, and he goes to some interesting places around the world. And one of them is Germany, and he goes to like a beachside resort in Germany, and he says, most of you watching this won't know Germany has beachside resorts, and I must admit, I was one of them. So, nice, easy, gentle watching series. Another one, a comedy, not brilliant, but definitely worth a watch, I think. Totally, Completely Fine. It's about a young girl. She inherits a house on a cliff top from, I think it's a granddad or a great uncle, something like that. And it's a suicide spot. So all these people keep walking through a garden to the cliff top going to commit suicide. And she ends up, involved in their lives kind of thing. So it's okay. Not the best series ever. Not the worst. I caught up with one that's been out a while now. And I was like in two minds whether to watch it. Was it going to be too kiddified? Was it not? And it's Wednesday. Set, it's about Wednesday Addams and her going to school and stuff. I think there's enough in there to keep adults entertained. And if you're watching it with an older child, there is some jumpy bits in it, but I thought it was a decent show and a good watch. And a couple of weeks ago, I finally got around to watching Griselda, which is about the Colombian drug dealer, the female drug dealer. True story. 6-parter, I think. That's another decent show. And I will let the others go first, and then I've got a little bit of show and tell.
Well, I carried on with my arcade refresh project, basically going through every game, doing every bit of maintenance. And part of that is I got a test pattern generator that I have one, but it's like this big, and I bought from a fellow out of Canada one that's about the size of a Zippo lighter. And the beauty of it is you just have your RGB sync ground, and it's got little just little clips, So basically you clip it to all the pins on the monitor input, and you can flip between the different test patterns to do your monitor alignment. Way easier to lug around something the size of a Zippo lighter that's powered by a battery than to use the whole big piece of test article, that you pretty much have to bring the monitor to. So my new project is I'm going through every monitor and I'm doing an alignment. So whatever's needed, convergence, focus, all that. And that helps generate just a wonderful picture. And a lot of these, I've kept up with cap kits and all that, but like I'd say most people, I have not pulled every monitor, put it on the bench and done a full proper alignment. So I'm finally getting through to that. I have one pinball machine left to do a little work on, and that's Bad Cats. It's got a display issue for the alphanumeric, but all that's coming along lovely. So the arcade is pretty much all refreshed to a high standard. Kind of rearranged the order of things, and I did a segment on this in the Hardware Flashback some time ago. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Get in there, take your collection apart, put it back together. Assemble it a different way, see if it makes sense to you. It, I think, had a definite a benefit for me. So, other than that, I want to say one thing I've been watching for us to have a little discussion on, because I'm sure you all have something to say about it. So Ghostbusters, I loved Afterlife. I thought that it did everything right and very few things wrong. It saw no need to take digs at the fan or digs at the anything. It just was a Ghostbuster movie. Had some of the original guys come back in some roles that made sense. I thought the kids and the family were, well done, and the visuals of the ghosts were really well. It was just, they nailed it. I loved Afterlife. So I thought, all right, Frozen Empire, let's see what they're going to do with it. And regrettably, it's just kind of a meh pass, take it or leave it. It unfortunately was kind of what I thought Afterlife was going to be. They actually managed to, as is the thing today where you want to insult your audience, they actually managed to literally take a dig at the 80s, which is, for an 80s nostalgia franchise, is probably the dumbest thing you could do. The acting was kind of thin. The script was kind of thin. You had Alpha Mom and Beta Dad and every other little trope that's usually done today, The actual ghosts were okay. You really thought they were going to do something cool with Slimer, and then they didn't. Just not a big wow, more of a meh at best. So unfortunately, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, whereas I will say, without a doubt, Afterlife was a worthy follow-on to the first two. This was just kind of a turd. So I don't see it. I don't know what they're going to do next, because that was kind of a dud. Now, the new Dune, watch that. Fantastic. Very well done. The visuals, the storytelling, the religions, everything. The only thing I still wish they get into is more of the technology of the Dune world of why things are the way they are, with the lack of computers and the presence of interstellar flight, things like that. But they never seem to want to get into that much. I thought they did overall, though, a pretty good job, and I enjoyed it. So before yeah, I will talk more about this in the hardware flash. We'll have talked more about this in the hardware flashback. But you guys, in the not the forum, but a little chat, I put in the photos, the computer space buttons that I designed. It has gotten really cool over in this Aussie arcade. It's like kind of like Mike. What is that UK arcade forum that all the Brits tend to be in?
UK VAC.
UK VAC, that's the one. Now, again, I don't see how like arcades are necessarily need separate national forums. I mean, KLOV is, how most of these things are made in America anyway, or made in Japan, but yet there's Japanese ones, there's UK ones, there's US ones. Why? I don't know. Whatever. But the Aussies have their own little one called Aussie Arcade, and it has become the hub of computer space news and recreations. So, long story short, if you didn't hear it in the hardware flashback, a couple of people over there took the schematics, took the what's called Gerber files, which are all the format files that are needed to make circuit boards. They've had reproduction circuit boards made. They have populated them. Some of them have working sets. Some of them are still in testing, working out the bugs. And then people just started doing things like, okay, what else do we need to reproduce this thing? And with reproduction comes spare parts, which is really critical for owners. I absolutely intend to make a set of reproduction boards and run those and put my originals anti-stat bags and seal them away safely. The gameplay will be literally identical, but no wear and tear and exposure of risk to my original 52-year-old PCBs now. So love that. And I started looking at it and thought, well, where can I get in? And I've been futzing around with FreeCAD and doing some design work and all. Had, a great deal of help with it too. So I went through and made at best as I could, and I think it's within a fraction of a millimeter either way, a one-to-one copy of the actual button. And then, in fact, I did have them right here. Of course, they go missing right. Well, here's one. And so anyway, I made a reproduction of the original buttons. And then I also went through and I made here it is. I made a new button that corrected some of the issues. So this is the gray proof of the button. Now this little divot on top was rough to reproduce. And you see here it's got the side, those little ears. Those are the tabs that keep the button from falling through the control panel. And then on the back, you can see the plus is where the blade of the switch goes. And it's designed to go either way. And then, of course, you see the hollow cavities, right? So this is a print. This is actually printed with a filament printer. I have them done in, let me get it. I have them done in resin as well. I should have had these ready, but I didn't think about it. And the resin just looks so good. So this is a set here that's done in kind of like a ice blue. And you can see, they're resin, so they're translucent. When the light hits them, they just look absolutely beautiful. So what happened, what precipitated this is the day that I found the thread on Aussie Arcade and got into their discussions, some people were asking questions. And I thought, well, I got a computer space. Let me go take some measurements, turn it on, see how this behaves. And there were some components that people wanted pictures of. So I went to do it, and son of a bitch, my one of my buttons split in half because it's now 2 years old. And it basically split, if you can imagine this axis, it split horizontally right through that cross, right? So the button probably could be glued back together. In fact, I will. I saved the bits. But it's not, it's old. Plastic gets brittle. So I resin printed these. Now I made this button here where what I did is I eliminated the pockets. I eliminated the cross, and I added. See this big thick base?
Mm-hmm.
So I added this, and now up top it looks identical to the player. You can't tell it's different. The parts under the play field, this is built to be a button to be played. I mean, actually, I kind of probably didn't need to do it because these, even in just like model resin, not even high durability resin, are just fine. I think I overthought it, but I did make a heavy duty version of it. So, and these look really good because of the thickness of it. When they get the light under it, they just glow. So, anyway, I got in on the act. I got a chance to contribute. People were, reproducing boards, scanning the cabinet with a 3D scanner to get a model. And out of that, I just had, the guy did a beautiful scan of the cabinet. So I printed a little computer space, right? And now this one I'm going to cut out and put in just like a static screen, just, fixed image, and paint the control panel and just have it for like, I don't know, maybe a Christmas ornament. And then
you need to turn them into bongs and you'll make a killing.
Computer space. Then this little line of arcade games, I've got, pretty much the whole set of them. So I printed one. It's literally on the printer now. It's done. I just need to wash and dry it and cure it. But I made one in this scale so that I could add a computer space to the lineup. Now that one, I'm going to put in a little OLED with an animation of computer space running, and that will just be cool. So anyway, lots of progress in that thread. People over there troubleshooting boards now. If you've ever wanted to own a computer space or build a reproduction of it, I'd say this is your moment. You need to start watching this thread because there is discussion going on of how to get cabinets made. Now, this may happen in Australia because that's where the bulk of it is. One of the guys may make just one for himself, that's an achievable goal. If any chance this thing goes in the direction of getting multiple people together to make, maybe a meaningful number of reproduction cabinets, this could be your chance, But certainly if you wanted to make, right now, if you want to make a reproduction board, reproduction control panel, and build a functional computer space other than the cabinet, you can do that now. So if you guys want to own the first commercially produced coin-operated video game in history, the options of doing a reproduction are better than ever. I'm excited for it. I love the idea of a reproduction. I don't think it's going to do anything to computer space values. I mean, I don't care. I'm never selling mine. I just I love that these guys are moving the project along, and I got to contribute in a small way by, getting those buttons designed and putting those up. And I can't wait to see what's next. So it's going to be a good time over on the old Aussie Arcade forum. So if you haven't dropped by, just search Aussie Arcade Computer Space. You'll find the thread instantly. Drop by, say hello. If there's some skill you have that you might be able to contribute to making reproductions of this machine, or if you are interested in maybe making one for yourself, it's finally happening. So I'm excited to see it. 50 years, there's finally going to be repros. And not only that, repros mean parts. So think of how many computer spaces out there are missing the control panel, or missing the board set, or missing a board. It's going to bring so many computer spaces back to life. This is exciting news. So now the last thing I want to talk about that I wanted to wait till we all
just before you move on, Scott.
Then, yes.
How many made it over to us? Any originals?
No fucking clue. How about that? no,
that's an answer.
Yeah. So the guy, one of the guys, he did his. I guess they used a 20-cent piece when we used a 25-cent piece in the U.S. So he had done his artwork as in 20 cents instead of 25 cents on the bezel, on the control panel. And I think somebody asked, like, well, is that from a real computer space? And I don't remember. I don't want to misquote the conversation, but it's more like, yeah, fuck, we don't know. I don't know if one ever made it over there. I just simply don't know.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that said, the last thing I want to kind of hit here is Fallout, the TV series. We probably, hopefully, have all seen it by now. So I'll give my just brief intro, and then once everybody's
No.
talked, we can. Well, then you need to watch it, Mark, because it's been out for
No.
weeks. So
That hasn't been. No, I mean, don't ruin it, man. I haven't watched it.
So in Ghostbusters, these ghosts from the Neither World were coming in. These guys built proton packs. Ah, fuck.
Yeah,
All right, look.
I've not seen it either, so no spoilers. But
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Spoilers aside, and it's pretty hard to do spoilers about a game, a movie, a TV show based on a game. It has all the major elements of Fallout. There are one or two scenes you could spoil, but so I'll leave those out. But anyway, the gist
Tread
of it is-
carefully. Tread carefully.
Dude, you can't spoil or protect forever. I mean, after like maybe the first 48 hours, spoiler
No.
territory is over with.
I mean, come on. You got to give it like 2 months. People have shit going on in their lives. Can't just fucking binge TV as soon as it comes out. It's been out for like a week or two. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and at that rate, you could have watched 10 minutes a day and seen it. So anyway, it was when the initial pictures from the set that were leaked, I'm sure distributed, that was like 3+ years ago. And I was thinking, all right, they've had a lot of time. What have they done with this? Probably nothing. And I just didn't expect a lot. And what they did is they spent every moment they had on fleshing out the Fallout world. If you played Fallout 4, and you are familiar with, the artifacts and the set dressing and, the world of Fallout, man, did they nail it. They have been busy, and what they were busy doing was creating the Fallout world. The set dressing, just the tiny details on every scene, in the vaults, out of the vaults, the people that are in vaults, the people that are outside, the blurred lines between them that you find that is the case, when you play the game. Guys, it's just beautiful. I can honestly say, movie or TV show, I can't think of another one in any genre where the set dressing was done so diligently. Every little item, not just, the obvious, like, the Pit Boys and, the gas cylinders and the stim packs. All that was just beautifully done. But every little thing that you see in Fallout is present in this. And man, guys, they put in their work, and this thing looks beautiful. So we'll definitely have a little chat about it here when we get done with our individual stuff. But that's it for me. Take it away.
So I've been away
Dave, you want to go?
been out for what, month or something.
Is he there?
Can't remember whether I missed it. Am I
All
coming
right.
through?
Well, looks like
I can
I'm
hear it.
going
No, I
then.
can hear him. Can you not hear him?
No,
I can hear him. Can I hear you? Yes.
Yes. You must be able
cannot.
Well, he stopped talking. That's why we can't hear him.
Can you hear me? Can you
I
hear
don't-
me now?
to. I don't know
Yes.
how it's possible to be in
Slippery
this
little
call and not
bastard.
hear one person. Let me.
Like, I see his little thing lighting up, the little green thing, but that's it.
Looking
Like, I don't
down
hear
at
him
it.
talking.
What's happening?
I can hear everyone.
We're like all in the same room. I don't get how you can hear
I can
one
hear
and not
Mike
the
saying
other.
I can hear everyone.
Yeah.
I swear, cannot.
That's fucked up.
Now that's when Mike talks. When Random talks, I don't see his little green light.
Okay.
Can you hear
But you
Random
hear
though,
me.
Scott?
I can hear Random perfectly. He just
But
said,
you don't see his light.
okay.
Right. Speak, Random.
Hello. I would like to speak. Can
Right.
anyone
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. I can see your green light, but over your head,
He's not saying anything important.
in my chat, you say standby. Have you done something?
Yeah,
Okay.
There's like
no,
some
I-
little like it's like a
It's like a little
There was
overlay
something
that says
saying standby
standby.
at one point, but it now says on air.
well to me I see kind of like it looks like the glaive from Cull or Krull.
What have you done,
And
random?
everything in the call seems to think I'm like the little microphones flashing.
It looks and sounds great here now.
So you hear
Mike,
it
is it
now.
going to the recording good?
There's a big on air thing at the top, but
I'm still seeing standby. I mean, I hear you fine.
is that
I can't hear I can't hear him at all. Like nothing.
Speak random.
hello? Shall I leave and
Yeah,
come
you're
back?
going to the recording, right? Leave the room and come back.
Right.
We've evicted random temporarily. He will return. This is live. This is live, folks. This is what happens. It's tough at the top. Random is coming through on the YouTube stream, says Martin.
Hello.
Now
Am
you
I-
don't
Yeah, I
say
can hear him now.
standby. There you go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say standby anymore, so I don't know what that was about.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, I missed a month or maybe two. I can't remember. Lots of sickness going through the house, so didn't play a lot. Well, not played a lot retro wise, but ended up watching just sitting on the sofa with Amber as she was ill as well, watching a bunch of films. We watched a load of old shit, but it was shit. Stuff like she wanted to watch the Look Who's Talking trilogy.
Oh my
We
god.
watched that.
Oh my!
Turns out that's
You
really
were
bad.
ill.
But we did watch.
Now that,
of
listeners,
interest-
is what you call love.
I have an interest in. Well, I mean, so like I'm into films and things, so I was kind of fairly interested in sort of revisiting something that I remember watching as a child. Interested to see how it held up. Interested to see what they're doing with cinematography and all sorts. Like the intro's pretty cool, and I was sort of did some research into how they did that with the sperm and the going through all the passages. But yeah, the actual film is like, hey, we've got this idea for this script for a rom-com, but it's not very strong. What should we do? It's just like, I don't know. What if we could hear the babies in a monologue? Yeah, all right, that'll do. And then it doesn't really add anything to it. But we did watch. So well, we've already watched Wednesday, which Mike mentioned. Which I'll say, yeah, we enjoyed that. But then I enjoy some stuff like that anyway. I don't mind watching. So like, sort of what you'd say, sort of a bit teen. What's the word for books that you have? Like young adult books. that kind of-
Literature.
but like the young adult sort of thing. So like we've watched like Fate the Winx Saga and shit like that on Netflix, and I kind of enjoy that.
Don't say that
even
when
though
you're
it's
drunk.
really not aimed at me. But yes, but we have been watching through Buffy and Angel again, which is like one episode at night when we get into bed before we get to sleep, which is kind of old, I guess now. And that's kind of all right, as far as that sort of shit goes. Surprises me sometimes how much more sort of adult it is actually. I always sort of tend to think of it as it's 6 o'clock time slot on BBC Two, and you'd think it'd be at like only sort of around Hollyoaks Neighbours level, but yeah, it's sort of a bit more advanced. It's interesting. We watched the latest Dungeons and Dragons film, Honor Among Thieves. That was a lot better than expected, especially as I'd watched the first one again. I think I mentioned about 3 or 4 months ago now, and that was like awful in a number of ways.
I happen to quite like the first one. Still not seen the second one yet.
I mean, the first one's all right, and I certainly got enjoyment out of it. But there's some serious like weird ropiness in sort of where the budget was spent and things. We did watch Fallout.
Was it spent on the dungeons or on the dragons?
I think it was spent on some attempt at CG, which probably yes, so the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the Fallout. That I agree everything with Scott that he said about how they've sort of nailed the atmosphere in the world. They also kind of nail the humor, which I think maybe caught some people off guard that weren't hadn't played Fallout and weren't just thought it was going to be some sort of like apocalypse, sort of alternative technology western almost. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of like weird humor in there. One thing I will say is it doesn't seem to do a good job of introducing some of the concepts to someone who doesn't know Fallout. So, sort of halfway through, they mentioned something about someone's Pip-Boy. And even though they've been showing Pip-Boys throughout the entire thing, Amber's like, wait, what's a Pip-Boy? And because they'd not actually sort of put two and two, actually sort of forced it on you and said, explain that, this thing or this computer on people's wrists, this is what a Pip-Boy is, and so on. But yeah, it was good. Like some pacing issues, but yeah, I won't say any more than that. Were there any other films? Maybe not. So yeah,
Bridget Jones'
though,
Diary.
No. Oh, that was it. Yeah, we watched the new Roadhouse.
I won't watch that. I do
want to watch the old one again.
No.
I love the first
the old
one.
one is fun.
I can't.
Yeah. The old one is fun, and this one actually, like, I was expecting an absolute shit show, but kind of all right. I was kind of into it. Enjoyed that.
Just leave it alone.
With some weird, they were doing some new technique with speeding up footage and things to try and make things more impactful, but it didn't work for any of the vehicle scenes. The fight scenes, it kind of did work, and it took me a little while because it really looked like people were taking big hits. And I was like, shit, how did they choreograph this and like make that look so convincing? But it's all kind of trickery and adjusting the footage. So yeah, that's kind of fun. But then yeah, sold a couple more copies of James and Watch. So thank you to, I don't think it was any listeners. I think it was more Dreamcast junkyard traffic. But I ploughed that money then into, it was shortly after a new AMOLED screen solution has come out for the Game Boy Color. So there's been IPS screens for a while, but someone found some stock of, I think they were BlackBerry AMOLED screens, and modified them to work for the Game Boy. So yeah, I've got that fitted, and if I change cameras, can kind of see, but not so well actually. Now it's got darker, but incredibly vibrant. It's higher resolution than the GBA, so I mean it's integer scaled, so it's correct pixel wise, but it's got enough extra pixels and subpixels to be able to do like an LCD grid in there, so it gives you that, you can turn them off and get a completely smooth sort of emulator style image.
How many damn screens running there, buddy?
Just two. Just
One's
got
a big one.
Yeah, 24-inch vertical and then a 42-inch as a main.
It looked like a bunch of little screens.
Yeah. But that Game Boy Color screen, you posted still images of it in, was it in our WhatsApp or Discord? Looked really good.
Put them in the Discord as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to a front light mod, it's just was. But I mean, like my mate just did an IPS, and that's good. But this is like an extra level of pop. The only downside I have with it, and it's something I knew going in that I probably would, is that because it's OLED, it's very, very saturated. And it'd be nice. There are some controls for brightness and things like that on it, but it'd be nice and some sort of color modes so you could invert the display or force it to be black and white only. But it'd be nice to just be able to knock down the saturation.
Well, you can do that on Boot Up though, can't you? It's got the color options on Boot Up.
Well, no, you can cycle through different colors for Game Boy Classic games. But yeah, it'd be nice to just overall tone the colors down. But in doing that, I mostly finished off a project that I'd started before I was moving. Which is to put all my GBA games and Game Boy games in a binder. They used to be in a big storage tub, and because of the nature of Game Boy games, you just end up with rows and rows of games, and you can't tell what the fuck they are, and it's a nightmare to sort through them. So I've got all my GBA games in coin collecting wallets. They fit quite nicely in there. And then I've done similar with Game Boy games in trading card wallets. So they're all now browsable, alphabetical order, of course. And I can just flick through and pick out a game that I want, or even just a lot of the time I'm sort of looking at buying something and I'm like, I can't remember whether I've got this, so I need to just sort of go back through and just flick through and find it. So yeah, did that. That was good. That's kind of mostly it, really.
So now Sparkle says stand by above him. So let's see if everyone can
Let's see if
hear
we
him.
hear Sparkle.
I hear him just fine. Yep.
Yep.
Go
You
for it.
okay?
Yes,
All right.
go for it.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody. It's been a minute because we're in the heart of volleyball season right now for my kids. So, it's good to be back for another episode. I've just been kind of all over, up and down the East Coast, going to different tournaments and stuff over the last couple months. So, haven't been stationary too much, but I did pick up a game, Rogue Legacy 2. I don't know if anybody played the first one. That's a roguelike, obviously, and this one has a little bit more depth to it. You kind of just keep dying and evolving your character and leveling up and stuff like that, and it's a fun little game. I don't know, I think they're like $20 and they're on most digital stores. Had a lot of fun with that, and I've been playing through Axiom Verge 2 over the last couple months. Really enjoyed the first one. We featured Thomas Happ, the designer, in Retro Magazine. We got kind of a first crack at him before Axiom Verge 1 came out. And he designed most of the game himself. So it's a neo retro kind of throwback, Metroidvania type of game. Good play style and mechanics are real nice. There's you get kind of like a little like rover kind of thing that you can kind of throw out and turn into, and it's kind of like a little bug with a chainsaw. It's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for like a newer Metroidvania, kind of recommend that. And then as far as traditional retro games, started playing some Spy Hunter. Haven't played that for a while. I had a buddy growing up that had an arcade cabinet in his dad's basement, and we used to have a lot of fun. So just been emulating that, and a little bit of Rolling Thunder, which is always a bit of a thrill for me to kind of jump back into. Never been really good at Rolling Thunder, but I think I kind of always wanted to. There's other gaming. So we were in Atlanta for a large tournament at the World Congress Center. Atlanta's fucking crazy. Got to go visit a buddy of mine from college. I think he has the world's largest collection of Jesus action figures. Shout out to Nate. He has some.
Are they not all in the same position?
It has like the Resurrection play set and like some other stuff, and it's like I need to get some pictures of it and send it to you guys. But he collects a lot of he'd be pissed. I don't even know what size those characters from movies and stuff are. They like 1/8 size doll or 1/4 or something. I mean, they're pretty big. They're probably like 12 to 6 inch type custom dolls, and he has a whole room dedicated to it. So kind of fun to see. And then we went out to a place called My Parents' Basement in Atlanta, which is kind of a cool bar, and they do comic books, craft beers, some bar food, stuff like that. I picked up the order of Brussels sprouts and had explosive diarrhea, so I had to leave a little bit early. But otherwise, it was cool. I got to play some Pulp Fiction, which I had not played before, had not seen it out on location before. Got to play a little bit of the new Jaws, which is pretty fun, and Cactus Canyon, which is always one of my favorite pinball machines. So while we're in Atlanta, just give you a quick little Atlanta story. So for those of you that have never been there, it's a interesting city. We were playing at a pretty big volleyball tournament with about 40,000 players there, and one of our tournament days ran pretty late. So we got to the top of the hill past Centennial Park. That's where they had the Olympics in '96. Went to a
You
Hard
ever
Rock.
seen I Am Legend?
Yeah.
Pretty much that after dark.
Yeah, there's a lot of underhomed individuals there for sure, doing a lot of extracurricular
People
activities.
experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we were leaving the Hard Rock Cafe, which is kind of up on the top of the hill. We were walking to our hotel, and my daughter, who just turned 12, kind of points over and she's like, "What's that thing?" And it's this glass structure kind of coming out of the ground, and that's the MARTA station. That's their public transportation. And I'm like, "Oh, that's the MARTA. That's like, their local public transport." And like on cue, like a vampire levitated out of the train station high on fentanyl, and he only had like shredded pants on and like tighty whities, and he was screaming, kind of like spinning around on one foot, and his whole back and his rear end were covered in human shit. And there's a lot of kids
You
like
don't know it's
walking by.
human.
This is like 9
Not
30,
necessarily his
9:40.
own.
9:45 at night, and he's screaming, and like there's a lot of like young kids, like, because there's thousands of people like in the city playing volleyball, right? And walking by, and everyone just kind of stares and looks at him, and then he proceeds to pull his junk out and starts flapping it around, and I'm like, oh my god, and like grab my kid, and otherwise we had a good time. I mean, she got to play.
Apart from the shit covered man jerking off in public, everything was great.
A bit disappointed.
I wish I could juxtapose this against the audio of Mark bragging about it. Atlanta's a world-class city, man. It's up there with.
But yeah,
It's a shame I didn't go after.
His daughter's like, "Hey, Dad, does everybody here have
Just- I
diabetes?"
was in
'Cause they-
Atlanta shaking my junk around.
No, but seriously, you should see this glass dome coming out the floor. It's amazing.
And then his daughter's like, "Gee, Dad, does everybody here have diabetes? Because they keep using insulin everywhere."
I mean, we went to some really cool restaurants. We had, we got to hang out with my buddy and like go. She never got to see his it's literally a toy museum. We went to play pinball. She went out with her friends and got to like play hide and go seek in like a giant hotel and like played at a really high level at this thing. We're driving home, and she got some swag and won some stuff while we were there, and it was just a really good long weekend. And it was Easter when we were traveling back, Easter Day on Sunday. And I'm like, so like, what was the most exciting thing? Like, that was a cool trip, me and you, it was like daddy-daughter trip. Like, what was the most memorable thing? What are you going to remember? And on cue, she was like, that guy that came out of the train station.
You know
like,
that.
I will never forget that. So, that was interesting. But yeah, as far as TV and stuff like that, just haven't had too much time. I had a guilty pleasure. There's some show called Physical 100 on Netflix, where it's like these Korean folks that kind of compete for like physical challenges and stuff. I kind of watched the whole thing on fast forward. I watched the first one. I watched this one. It was pretty fun. Been
It's like
watching
Squid Games for chicks.
I've been
Not
watching
really, no.
Scotty. I've been watching this YouTuber for a while, Scotty Kilmer. I don't know if anybody checks him out, but he's pretty cool. He's like a 75-year-old dude. Has been a mechanic his whole life, and he just kind of like fixes cars and talks shit on stuff. And he's just kind
Whatever
of
you do, don't listen to this idiot about anything related to your car.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's funny, so I've been watching a little bit of
Oh,
that
he may be
guy.
entertaining, but he knows shit about cars. Trust me.
And then, of course, I started watching the Fallout series. I have not finished it yet. I'm halfway through. I binged episode 1 through 4 last weekend. I intend to kind of finish it up this weekend, so that's been pretty good. And I think that's most of it for me. I have been. If we want to roll into Fallout a little bit, I played 3 and 4. I had a roommate in college that had one of the early ones. I can't remember if it was Fallout 1 or 2 or what it was, but it was something on the computer where you could, do a lot of things that were pretty edgy at the time. And I just downloaded Wasteland 3, which I know is made by Brian Fargo and some of the folks that worked on the original one before Bethesda took it over. and it's on sale right now on the PlayStation Store. And I know Scott's against it, but it's like $8 or something. So $7 this weekend, or through I think through May 5th or something. It said like that. So if you want to pick up kind of a post-apocalyptic game, for something modern for cheap, that would be the way to do it, I think. But yeah, I've enjoyed the show so far. There's definitely a little bit of camp in there that I kind of wasn't expecting, some of the campiness, but I think it's fine. It's I kind of cringe a little bit at some of these shows because they've remade and ruined so many things from my childhood or things that I'm familiar with and like them in a different format. And so far, I've like really been enjoying this. And actually, I didn't really want to pound through the rest of it because I want to kind of take my time and enjoy it. I think it's only 8 episodes, so I think it's one of those ones I'll actually watch a second time just to kind of pick up some of those little details. But it's been
I tell
it's
you
been
what,
enjoyable.
it's definitely worth a second watch, and you'll do exactly that. So when we were getting ready to head down to Georgia, we were staying at a couple of us were staying at the clubhouse, and one of our guys had not seen Fallout, the first episode. And he's a huge gamer. So two of us that had seen it sat there and watched it, the first episode, with a dude who hadn't. And yeah, you definitely pick up a lot more on a second watch through, where it's like, oh, that was clever. But yeah, it's so far a real winner. But yeah, the camp I think is intentional. I mean, it's like this, dude, come on, especially like the nuking of LA. I mean, the way they did the whole thing, and the cars, everything's just over the top. Because remember, it was like that 1950s aesthetic if Atomic Power had like really been magic out of the box. So, love it.
So I've never played a Fallout game, and I watched the trailer for the series a month ago. Talked about it on the show maybe 5 weeks ago, and I talked about it last month. It's a kick-ass trailer, and it pulled me in. So even though I've never played a game, I'm going to watch the show, and I think that sort of point of view will be interesting. But I mean, from what I've seen in the trailer, there seems to be like a central female character, and I thought, have they done that again, kind of thing? But it appears not. So no spoilers. I don't know what her role in it is, but I thought they may have done the usual.
She is kind of the overarching main character, but they do focus on a couple of other characters as well, which are
It's
male.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely not that like the way they killed Terminator, where they found a girl, a 98-pound girl, broomstick arms, and every time she flexes, every guy in the room ducks under the table, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's actually shockingly, I wouldn't say it's woke free, but it's 99% woke free. I mean, come on, dude, you get a rape, a murder, a kidnapping, and a branding in the first 15 minutes.
Sounds like
don't
Atlanta.
get that everywhere these days. Yeah. It's basically Atlanta before the war.
Yeah.
But the one thing I can say, though, they did a masterful job with the Brotherhood of Steel, with their power armor and their priest class, and their everything was beautifully done, except the two guys that they picked to be the knights that they've like focused on so far. Absolutely nothing in tradition with what the Brotherhood of Steel would have as members in the game. So kind of befuddling that they picked those two to represent the Knights in the Brotherhood of Steel. But other than that, so far so good.
Okay, so I'm
Mike,
going to do...
you gotta watch.
And yeah, I will do a bit of show and tell. Let me switch that over on the feed. And then I'll do a bit of show and tell, and then I'm going to call Mark out on his bullshit. So, you should be able to hear me. Oh, hang on. Oh, maybe I can turn
I can hear you
that one
twice.
off. Can you still hear me? Well, you'll hear me on there. So I don't know what you'll hear. I'm going for a little wander, and I'll show you. And then you can ask questions later.
I've seen this in real life, and it looks like it looked then.
Should have put some piped some funky music in.
So there you go. That was the video pin, which is now structurally complete apart from legs. It doesn't have pinball legs on it. It's sat on a table at the moment, so it's a bit high. But the cabinet and all the back box and everything is built. I hope it came across on screen. I assume it did.
It did, yeah.
So there you go. I've built it all. Well, not built it all. I didn't make it, but I put it all together a couple of days ago. Not had a chance to just give it a final tweak and boot it up. But I mean, it's all the internals are fine and working, so it should all go swimmingly. So let's get on to some news then. But just before we do that, I'm going to call Sparkle out on his bullshit. You remember a few months ago, Sparkle, you lambasted me about mincemeat not having meat in it and being made up of fruit and shit.
Yeah.
Do you recall that conversation? So,
Yeah.
Every so often I go on Project Gutenberg, which is it's a website with a bunch of royalty-free books, generally out of copyright, over 70 years old, and I'll just pick up an old book and have a read. I've read a lot about the Civil War, American and English, and what was the other one I read? The Pony Express. There was one about that. And I found a cookbook, Aunt Caroline's Dixieland Recipes. And this book is American, obviously, and it's like an old, I'm guessing, slave cook in a house. And she has a recipe there for old-fashioned mincemeat from America. God damn it. And you've never heard of it. And there it is. It's all apples, currants, and raisins and all of that shit. So there you go.
How long ago was this?
This would be, I'm guessing, at least 100 years old, the book.
I mean, it's not too old because there weren't any Americans then.
Yeah.
Well, not original ones.
Yeah.
So
I don't
it's
know.
not a uniquely UK thing, is basically what I'm saying.
Basically.
Basically.
Basically, I will add that in terms of it, being called mincemeat and it being predominantly fruit and suet and things these days. Fucking hell, years and years and years ago, when I was baking a lot for charity and applying for the British Bake Off and shit like that, I also had this thought and was like, well, mincemeat, what the, and I was looking at making savoury cupcakes and all sorts of shit. And so I ended up finding that.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
It works quite well, actually. But yeah, kind of like you with Project Gutenberg, I found like some library archives of like old books that then had found medieval recipes where it was basically a way of using all the scraps of old meat, and leftovers from dinners, and they would just mince it up, and it wasn't, they couldn't say, oh, this is beef or whatever. It's just like, this is meat. This is any old shit we found, and then we'll put some spice.
So it's the all sorts or trash can of eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just before we get into news then, so before we get off food, every culture pretty much, and I can't remember them all off the top of my head now, but every culture pretty much has a way of making, a few days' meals out of a nice big cut of meat. So over here, going back, a century or whatever, when people had no money, but they might buy like a cut of meat on a Sunday, they'd have a roast with the family, and then the following day they would boil the bone down, and any meat that fell off they would throw in some vegetables and potatoes and make like a stew, and then the day after that they would like make a pie crust and chuck the remains of Monday's meal in, and they would stretch that cut of meat out and the bones and all of that for like the week. So like every culture has a way of reusing meet going back, hundreds of years, whatever. Just before we were on Project Gutenberg and old
Shut up,
books.
Thomas and eat your gristle.
Same, just like the gentleman in Atlanta has a use for his meat too.
He does. He likes to share it with everyone. One of my favourite books is The Hound of the Baskervilles, obviously Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle book. It's out of copy right now. And then the other week, Paula and I on a Sunday, we tend to just twat about and go and do something, go and visit somewhere. We're in the National Trust. We might go to an old stately home or something like a big garden, something like that. And we went to this place not too far from us, Heskin Hall. And like a couple of weeks later, which was now a couple of weeks ago, they had in the hall a one-man Hound of the Baskervilles show. So I thought, it's £8 a ticket. What else are we going to do on a Sunday night? So we went along. It was fucking brilliant. This dude just stood in a corner of the room just doing a one-man show about Hound of the Baskervilles. It was really good. You never know what you might find on a day out with UK Mike. Put it that way. All right, let's get some news in.
Let's do this.
We've
got
got
one here
again.
from Gareth Hamer. Got one here from Gareth Hamer, and I'm not saying it makes a lot of sense, but I could see how it could make a lot of sense. So somebody came up with a Raspberry Pi Pico that adds Bluetooth to the Atari 2600, so you can use the 360 controller with it. How about you come up with something that gives me the ability to use an Atari joystick for something like, and you'd have to multifunction it. You'd have to obviously start the level of the controller. But how cool is something like Borderlands be if you made it joystick in one button, you just drive around and gun stuff? You could I think you could do that in Borderlands, like you hold the button, maybe do a weapon change, and, you'd have to automate some things like ammo changes or whatever. But, you give me a way to use the 2600 joystick for a modern game, I'm in. Using a 360 controller for a Atari game, I'm out.
Yeah, it seems like adding Bluetooth functionality. Okay, you've got reasonable wireless, but Atari 2600 joystick is essentially just like 5 switches. So it's a bit overcomplicating it somewhat. If you need an extra controller, there's probably simpler ways. You can just wire it up with paper clips and shit like that. Got another one from Gareth Hamer, which I didn't see in the general mainstream news, which I would have thought I might have done. But it's that GOG announced with Amazon that they were going to bring the game library to Luna streaming, Amazon's streaming service. A couple of issues with this, other than the obvious of cloud streaming things. So GOG, it's not everything. So developers or publishers have to opt in. So it's not really fair to say that the whole of GOG's library is going to come to it, because it won't, because people won't allow it probably. The other thing is, from our point of view anyway, if we're talking GOG games that we're interested in, they're only 5 megabytes to download in the first place. Streaming it's going to actually eclipse that in a lot quicker, so you might as well just download it and install it. So interesting. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but I don't know how much it will get used.
You should be on their marketing team. Luna, it's not everything.
Not sure it'll be used either. Well, here's one that was kind of interesting. Lord Neil Balmer sent over. Looks like someone gone and ported Chaos Engine and C64. And I thought, whoa, looks quite good. Well, it does. Unfortunately, the link is to a video of the Amiga version of Chaos Engine, which, of course, it looks good. It's on the Amiga and it's Chaos Engine. That said, there is a second link over to the actual C64 port. And it looks about what I thought it would look like. It kind of looks like Chaos Engine, except on the C64. But instead of maybe, I'm not a programmer, so I have seen things on the C64 similar to this that just had more of a Nintendo kind of feel in terms of, the graphics, and this kind of almost trends more towards like a Spectrum Commodore kind of feel. So, interesting. He says he's only done one level and only a proof of concept. So far from a finished product. Let's see where it goes.
Okay, got one in here from Gareth Hammer. So finally, somebody has ported Tyson's Punch Out from the NES over to the Super NES. So this is interesting. It's a group called Developer Infidelity, and you can support them on Patreon, but you can also get a free download. I guess this really eliminates some of the slowdown, reduces some of the flicker, just kind of some general overall Super Nintendo enhancements. So, hey, go check it out. Also, we got a fight coming up. Mike Tyson's going to be fighting Jake Paul in real life, which should be pretty fucking interesting. I forgot to mention, like, I watch a lot of fight stuff, so I've watched most of Jake Paul's fights. I
That's
think the
not
kid
a
can
fight,
box.
though, dude. You can't watch that shit.
No,
What-
but like, who
what was the
doesn't wa-
one like? It might have been his last one. It might not. And like, you can see like he twists his glove, and the other guy drops his hands, and he puts a punch in on his chin, and he falls over. It's like wrestling, dude. Come on.
I
Mike
don't know,
Tyson,
man.
put Mike Tyson in a ring with Jake Paul, he would fucking kill him. Seriously, he would kill him, and I really hope he does.
Well,
Dude.
that's what everyone's hoping for.
Which who's killing who?
So Jake Paul
You
is
said-
like, he's a YouTuber, and like he's well, I can box a bit, and so he goes in there, and like he's a massive YouTuber, so he's got a lot of financial backing, and he goes in a ring with like ex-professional
but
boxers
Mike,
and
which
stuff.
one are you gonna say is gonna win?
Well, think about it. Tyson would fucking murder him. But no, it's all set up. It's like wrestling. It's fixed. Oh, he nearly got him then. Oh, in just a couple of rounds, he might have him. And, like, they've got these little signals. So, like, the last fight Jake Paul had, like, you could see him, like, signal with his glove that he's going to bring in a big punch because he's getting fucking tired. It's like 5 rounds in. He's not a boxer. He's fucked physically. And so he does a little wobble with his glove. The professional boxer drops his guard, and Jake Paul comes in with a haymaker, and the professional boxer gets knocked out. Ooh, Jake Paul's amazing. No, it's fucking theater. It's wrestling in a boxing ring. Come on, dude.
So
Seriously.
just to be sure, you're saying that Mike Tyson would beat
In the
down-
real world, he would kill him within 20 seconds.
Okay, because I didn't know if like Tyson's old and decrepit, and then this guy's
He is.
a
He's
decent young boxer.
57.
All right, walk up to Mike Tyson and say, "What are you going to do about
No.
it, you old fuck?" And see how long you last.
No,
I don't need another felony.
yeah, definitely am not trying that.
Come on, you can't. I mean, wrestling to me is just a waste. But this is essentially wrestling. You're not telling me that's a real fight on any level. Seriously, on any level.
I can't be
Um,
bothered enough to watch.
Yeah, I think it is.
No.
But I
dude.
tell you what is a real fight on every level: the ability to play the Super Mario Brothers RPG with up to 3 players locally. That is an epic brawl. So yeah, over at ROM Hacking, somebody hacked it up and made the ability for you to do that. So the next time you can get that many people together in one spot that are all Mario RPG fans, now you can do it.
I did give Super Mario RPG a decent go. Just not my kind of thing, the old turn-based combat. But anyway, happy birthday, says Gareth Hamer, to Super Metroid. It's 30. Considered by some Nintendo fans to be the best game on the SNES. It's 30 years old. And there is an article on time extension. It's not that long an article, actually. It basically says what I've just told you. And then has a lot of ads.
Wow. Got one here from Lord Nero Balmer that this is interesting. Spot Pass archive attempt. So Nintendo is switching off online services for the Wii U, which makes sense, but then also the 2DS and the 3DS. I mean, okay. I know the 3DS, 2011, it's been out there for a while now, but it's not like it had a follow-on replacement. So what does it really cost them to leave it up? I don't know. But it says one group has taken it upon themselves to collect all Spot Pass that they can get their hands on. So one day they can recreate the Spot Pass feature without Nintendo servers. Okay? I don't know how people feel about handing over their data to a random group of people, but we all use smartphones and browse the internet. Yeah, you're handing over to a specific group of very evil people. So, interesting.
Got one, another again from Gareth Hamer. And it says, Hexen-esque game coming to Mega Drive with possible 32X version. Another story on time extension that's just collecting a bunch of tweets together from a developer who's shown an early version of a game he's making that's a first-person RPG on the Mega Drive. So you've got, kind of like very primitive Wolfenstein like layout of things, and he's got a big crystal wand that he's shooting magic with, and what could be a magic crossbow. Could be interesting. It's like, I'm sure there's plenty of examples of first-person RPGs that are kind of a bit more slow and kind of turn-based on the consoles. But yeah, something this fast and fluid, a bit more action, could be interesting if that ever anything comes of it.
I'm watching Jake Paul fights, trying to find a bit.
Well, not exactly retro gaming related, but interesting enough. Gareth Hamer sent here and sent in a link here and said, I'd be shocked if the hard drive even worked now. And it says, computer expert who accidentally threw out Bitcoin fortune on old hard drive, meaning his archive of his passphrase and or his wallet, says it's now worth $1.5 billion as he launches legal fight to dig out a council landfill. So basically, he wants to dig up this hard drive that he believes is in the dump that contains the keys to his Bitcoin wallet. So, interesting. He does kind of look like a guy who's missing out on a couple $1 billion. If you look at his picture, he's like, oh no, why me? Yeah, it says distraught James has been trying to recover the disc from the council-run dump in Wales ever since, and has taken legal access to search the site. Well, interesting. So what's funny is it says James's partner threw it out as rubbish, a black bin bag, which he was temporarily storing the hard drive. So he was temporarily storing his hard drive in a trash bag.
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw it away.
That's the kind of place you keep car keys, not a hard drive.
It's worth it just for the photos of this guy. And at the end, he kind of reminds me of that. He reminds me of a young man version of the old man meme where he's got the, this is okay too. It's, I don't know how much to believe of it, but we'll see.
Sparkle,
Okay.
I put a link in our chat there. Just watch that video. It's like, you need to watch like 20 seconds of it. Just click on that and have a watch.
Right now? Or
You can do while I do a news story sent from Gareth Hamer. It is, goddamn that blue shell. The 10 best Mario Kart items ever. And they are, and I think it lists them all because I read them as they came in. So in number 10, the triple bananas. I do like the triple bananas, actually. They're quite good. The Crazy 8, a bit of everything. So this is in Mario Kart 8. Nah, I'm not so sure about that. The Piranha Plant in 8. Again, not one of my favourites. The POW Block in position 7. First introduced in Mario Kart Arcade GP2. 6 is the Bob-omb. 5, Bullet Bill. Bullet Bill's good if you're losing by a long way, and that's when you tend to get it. The fake item box. Now, if you're playing against human players, I find that next to useless. Against computer opponents, sometimes they'll run into it. The Mega Mushroom makes you huge. The Golden Mushroom gives you bursts of speed. The Triple Red Shells, I would say that's my favourite. Not a blue shell in sight.
Okay, I got one. This one is from, let's see, who sent it? Lord Neil Bomber. So this is the story of Mario World. He sent it in, said it's a nice video about the arrival of Super Mario World and how it came to be. It is a YouTube series. So if you guys are looking for something to watch on YouTube, this is by the Gaming Historian. His name's Norman Caruso. Nice guy. Him and his wife put together these videos on YouTube. I think they have about 1 million subscribers. So great little bits. This video is a little over an hour, but if you haven't checked out Gaming Historian yet, I think he does a really nice job. It's definitely worth checking it out. And I think we've probably cited some of his other videos during other shows in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Got another one from Gareth Hamer. It says Plex kills its VR support, and it's kind of what it sounds. They have discontinued apps on some of the older and lower spec VR, sort of standalone VR headsets. My only response to that is, Gareth, if you need a way to watch your porn on your VR headset, there are plenty of other ways.
Hands up anyone who knew Plex even did VR. No.
Like you, I'm a regular Plex user. I have a dedicated Plex server. I've got huge, network attached storage for it, and I had no clue it had any such thing. So, got one here from Lord Neil Ballmer, and it said, "Did you ever want to make a working NES inside of a NES cart?" This guy did. So actually, I thought this was from a video maybe about 10 years ago, but it wasn't. A new one. And the other one, the guy did this really kind of slick presentation about, basically he took the essential bits of a NES, and way before it was cool at the Toy Fair, he put the essential bits of an NES into a cartridge, and so the cartridge became the NES. This guy does it like, it's amazing the violence with which he executes this build. He has a glop top SNES NES clone, right? So it's literally a NES on a chip with a PCB, and it's, to begin with, the worst soldering quality in the world. I mean, you've seen these, like, it's amazing it works, ultra low budget devices, hand soldered by children from the Guangdong province, But dude, this thing, when he takes like a fucking angle grinder, like a big, cut, half-inch thick steel with it, and uses it to grind away the edge of the cartridge after he's already put the circuit boards inside. I think it has to be intentional. Nobody does that kind of work. And it says, this feels kind of like a Dangpause video, except where he knows too much about electronics. There's something powerful about the disrespect and use of power tools and electronic components. It's like deranged prototyping. Yeah, that's the first thing people picked up on, is the violence with which he assembled it. So, hey, this one is from 1 month ago. Yeah, well, it was done at the Toy Fair first.
We need to do another cut where it pulls away, and it's what was his name who did the video about bulk power and his
Carlson.
Carlson.
And so it goes through this video of this man hacking the shit out of this NES stuff, and then it just cuts out to him going, "And that's my NES I've made."
Welcome to the NES Laboratories.
Welcome to the Retro VGS Lab. Yes, I'm here.
As you can see here, I've assembled every random piece of electronics looking code I have.
Welcome
And
to
I've
Retro
shoved it all on a
VGS Lab.
table.
I use a common laboratory power supply to supply bulk power to our system. Our processor runs nice and cool without a fan. We run a simple windowing system that allows me to move images around the screen using our processor and common USB keyboard and mouse.
So Random sent one in.
I mean,
there.
at least that guy was trying to do something, not like the other asshat.
Oh, what a tool! What a fucking tool! That's just great.
So Random sent
Will
one in
Gladly was
about
definitely better though.
the cancelled N64 racer, and I'm at like 10 seconds into the video. Have you seen the size of the cartridge? Is that a prototype? Well, it says prototype. I mean, would the size reduce that, or were they going to bring out a bigger N64
yeah.
cartridge?
So you have a big cartridge because it's got EEPROMs in it that you can burn over and over again, because obviously you don't want to commit final not final code. So yeah, you'll typically find like some of them they'll just be a normal cartridge shell for any system, but someone's sawn the top off it, and then all the circuit board PCB just extends out the top. Some of them you will get actually they just generated manufactured bigger carts. So like rewritable DS carts, they were like a normal DS cart with then like a mushroom top on the end of it,
right?
Things like that, because they've got extra storage space in there, and all extra SRAM save space and all sorts, because you might need it for debugging.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty standard.
Alrighty. Looks like a typical N64 racer, though.
I thought it looked pretty cool.
Jet Set Willie is 40. If you didn't feel old enough, Jet Set Willie turns 40. Point and click. Simon the Sorcerer Origins is coming soon, says Gareth Hamer. It's on Fusion R Gamer, which is Chris Wilkins' site, and they did an April Fool's. Is it April? Still April? Yes, it is. It's the April show. So, obviously, they do a magazine called Crash. They do a magazine called Zap. And so for April Fool's, they said, we're not doing multiple magazines anymore. We're going to combine them into one magazine called Crap. Which I thought was pretty good. Yeah. So this is an article on there. They're not doing the game. It's Simon the Sorcerer Origins. And you can... there's a trailer linked in the link. I'm not sure when the game comes out, but it's a fun game, Simon the Sorcerer. It is one of the good ones on... you can play it on Scum.
Okay. Well, usually we get a lot of talk about lawsuits. It usually has to do with Nintendo, but this time...
Oh, Billy Mitchell.
Yeah, or Billy Mitchell.
Yeah, that old trope.
Yeah, or lawyers in showers. I don't know. But this one came in this month, and we got one from Gareth Hamer yet again. And this time, a judge rules in favor of the PlayStation in a $500 million patent infringement lawsuit. So Genuine Enabling Technology was seeking damages against PlayStation over the console and controllers. And basically, the U.S. judge said, this is some bullshit, and threw it out. So there you go. I guess they had some patent on something. They're trying to patent troll. So it's good that there are some sensible people that, want to see progress. So there you go. You dodged a bullet this time, Sony.
Got one here from Gareth Hamer, and one of the Neuralink people has been playing Civilization and Mario Kart with their mind control. So
that's fucking dope.
You know what? It's not for me. I think I'll just stay analog till I die. I don't see getting any digital implants for anything.
What about when
Yeah,
your
but if
arms
you didn't
don't
have-
work?
Yeah, if your arms don't work, dude, like, that's great.
Well, look, if that turns up to be an eventuality, then I'll consider. But right now, I mean, like I might buy a wheelchair if I break my legs. Don't currently plan to buy one. So, yeah.
I mean, by the time his hands give up, his mind won't be sound either. Anyway, so
Failure
Oh,
to
very
plan
little
is planning
chance
to
of that.
fail, dude. Get yourself a wheelchair now. You never know when you'll need it.
Yeah, dude. You better put some armor on it.
V8 wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, that's how
Bomb-proof.
I'd roll if I did it. Pardon the pun.
Mounted in 16.
Hey!
Did we cover the Sid kick, Pico?
We didn't. But
Uh,
now
so
you've
this
teased
one-
it, you better finish off.
I did, yeah.
Finish
Lord
us
Neil
off.
Obama again. This is a replacement for the Sid chip that you can build yourself using a Raspberry Pi Pico and some other bits and pieces. So if you've got a dying Sid chip, you don't want to source another one from, presumably more dead hardware. This is a way to do it. Reminded me as well, there's various things you can do now, projects like this, which you can plug into. I don't know whether you can plug them into DOSBox specifically, but you can certainly plug them into a lot of like PC emulators that emulate the old MIDI hardware synthesizers that used to be colossal boxes that were like 400, 500 quid. You can now just
Dude, there's been huge advancements in this. It's not just the application of, say a single sound chip. There are a number of projects out there now. There's actually an Amiga accelerator that runs full emulation, of an accelerator off of a very small Pi. In fact, there is a new one. I'm gonna pick it up for the hardware flashback. I just need to find out who's got it in stock because the one guy listed didn't have it. But anyway, it's a 8-bit ISA card that plugs into a PCXT class machine, and it's using a Pi. And what it emulates is memory, IDE hard drive, Wi-Fi access, everything. It's freaking amazing what this thing does, and it's all done in software on the Pi itself. So, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Can't wait to give it a go.
One here that Chris sent in and Charlie sent in the same story. Charlie says, I'll play Night Trap on his grave. The former Senator Joe Lieberman passed away at 82 recently, and he had a hard-on for video games and censorship and all of that shit.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like at first when these came in, I'm like, Joe Lieberman, what in the hell is going on? Like, yeah, and then I was like, oh, that's right. He was a dickhead.
Who was the other? Jack Thompson?
He was the lawyer.
Ah, yeah, he wasn't a senator. Was this guy a senator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think recently he was trying. He had some affiliation with that like no labels label ticket where they're trying to do kind of be not Republican or Democrat here. We really only have two primary parties, and
That always works out well, doesn't it?
yeah,
Similar
not
story
really.
here.
I'm sure he fell down those stairs.
Yeah. Just stay out of hot tubs and light aircraft. You'll be fine.
Don't go near windows and don't drink
Yeah.
tea.
He passed away today after shooting himself twice in the back of the head.
So, Mike, I see you posted one here, the video of the 3D printed computer space.
I did.
So what's funny here is one of these, I guess instead of using the scan, they used a picture of one of their buddies. I think his name was Reese. So it was like, it's 1.2 Reese tall and whatever. And they drew it. And the only thing I can say about it is it looks great until about the monitor area. Then it looks like it's obese. It has this extra. There's definitely a couple contours that need to be refined, right? But it's a huge step towards a finished effort.
Yeah.
They actually printed it in chunks and then glued the chunks together to make a replica cabinet. So there is, however, a dimensionally more accurate scan out there. It's the one that I used to print this. And it's actually, you can see that is dimensionally accurate. The one that they printed, it's kind of fat through here,
Yeah.
It looks like it's swollen a little.
Is that to get
So
a bigger
that-
screen in, or is it just a bad scan?
Well, they didn't scan it. They kind of freehanded it
Right,
from photo. They actually go through how they drew it.
Right.
And so it's they didn't have one available to scan, I guess, so that's what they could do, and they got pretty damn close. But with now a proper scan being out there, which is, again, you can just go to the Aussie Arcade thread and you can download that file, and you can print your own. The same file that I used to print this little handheld one, you could absolutely use to print the full size one. So yeah, if you use the STL that's on Aussie Arcade, and then you use their methodology of printing it, yes, a couple months later, you'll have a cabinet.
Yeah, I read somewhere, and I forget where it was now, because these guys had like a bank of 3D printers all printing a bit, but they said like if you had one just printing it 24/7, you would 29 days later have all the parts to assemble.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So that's one of the neat things that has popped up. And then what's interesting is I just saw in the comments somebody said, "Hey, we did a scan of our computer space to reproduce it for this, that, and the other." And the next thing you know, people are in there commenting on that. So it's become this sort of a hub to tie together all these various individual projects. Just really cool, a really cool era, and long overdue, man. It's really long since overdue for computer space replicas to be made. So damn glad to see it.
One here for you people, not for me, because I don't like it. But Phantasy Star Online could be making a reboot on the Dreamcast. Reportedly getting a reboot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I've tired. Like, just give us a proper Phantasy Star. Like, I would buy that. Like, I don't have time. Like, I don't want to be in some online world and like competing with people. Like, when I'm working and stuff, and it's just like that Helldivers 2. I got a buddy that got all into it, and it's like, I couldn't get into it in the first couple weeks it was out, and by the time you're able to dive into a game like that, you're like, man, I'm so far behind. I'm just like a little turd with like little baby weapons and shit, and you're all bulked up. Like that's not fun, Like I just want to play something locally, and I think that they should consider that. Like I don't know that I want to get into online Phantasy Star. How about you, Random?
Yeah, gave Phantasy Star 2 another go at some point after they made some various changes to it at the time. But I don't know, it just never really stuck with us, and we play some online stuff here and there, a group of us, but yeah, like you say, I just don't necessarily have the time to do it. And if they made a cool RPG, single player RPG, I think it'd be much more sort of willing to check it out.
Oh shit, Random.
It's always kind of cool. It's like, it's a JRPG but with sci-fi shit going on. And
I had a link open before when you were talking in the top 10. I've gone back to that tab. You said you hated Thunderblade on the Master System, is that right?
Yeah.
It won a Golden Joystick Award for the console game of the year.
Well, I mean,
according to Wikipedia,
Master System. It might have been a bad year for the Master System, perhaps.
Well, it's console game. It's like everything. So you got the NES as well at that time.
I can't imagine there wasn't a good NES game released that year.
No. Just shows you. Awards are made up. Sparkle, did you watch that video I sent you?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like,
Come
the guy just dropped.
You don't know. He's a professional boxer.
No, he's not a professional boxer. That guy was an MMA fighter that he fought.
Yeah, well, same thing. He's a professional.
No, it's not the same thing.
It is the same thing. I'm going to post it in YouTube chat, and the people in there now can click on that video and watch it and tell me that fight isn't fixed. It's at about 20 seconds, 15 seconds. You'll see it. Jake
but that's
Paul's
just
coming
like
in
one
with the
small-
haymaker, and the guy just brings his hand down. Go on then, hit me there. That's it. And he tenses ready for it. Now come on, dude. Have you watched it, Random?
I haven't.
Click on it. It's in our OBS chat.
Are you sure he's not just flinching because he's about to get punched?
What?
I know
No,
what
watch it. He's got his guard up and brings it down so he can hit him. Watch it. Seriously, we're not doing another news item till you have.
Playing a little peekaboo to see whether or not he can get a hit in.
I mean, it's all sounding a bit. You're getting a bit too into it. It sounds a bit like conspiracy nut.
I find
sort of
it so
territory to
annoying.
Boxing conspiracies with UK Mike.
That's my next podcast.
We got one here that came in that you may or not be ready for from David Gyrich, and this is a Kickstarter called The Legacy of the Oblivion, and not looking so good. There's 3 days to go. There's 95 backers. They're looking to get $7,500. They're at $5,952. And it's a book about the companies that no one remembered but contributed to the development of the personal 3D graphics tech through the 90s. So looks pretty interesting. I mean, they got some renderings here of like some different fellas that were involved with developing like, what is it, like the Pentium or some of these different 3DFX chips, Legacy. I don't know. It might be a cool niche coffee table book. I'm kind of at the point where I'm sort of done pre-ordering something.
Yeah, so done pre-ordering.
Yep.
I'm not doing any other shit.
I mean, there's maybe some Kickstarters where I understand, maybe I would support something, but man, it's tough. I still haven't gotten those fucking folding spoons yet. And one day, like I'm going to have, if they ever come, I'm going to make some big fucking unboxing video or something for all you guys. But it's
Sparkles
fucking
spoon unboxing.
yeah, for
It'll
sure.
go viral, dude. That's our viral
Wait.
moment.
Let's see this.
Of course,
this
you
won't
only
even-
have to do things that are fork related with it.
Yeah. You know what? This is, I don't know. You could go and, if you're listening to this now, go look up Legacy of Oblivion. I have a feeling it's not gonna pass because it only got 3 days left. And they're a little ways off, but you never know.
Do a review of your spoons when you get them, and try and.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm going to try and cut a steak with them. Then I'm trying to eat pasta with them.
I'm gonna like lay in my yard and like hunt a squirrel with it or something.
So speaking of Kickstarter, scroll down to near the bottom. It's called Retro Game Revival. It comes from InnoReader and it's classed as spam. So this was a Kickstarter I spotted because I get like an RSS feed from Kickstarter. And it was Retro Game Revival, breathing new life into gaming classics, overcoming risks and challenges in the Retro Game Revival project. And they were looking for £800. And it's finished since, unsuccessful. And this thing, I read through it and it's like... So I'll read a bit of it here. So, project description. The Retro Game Revival project aims to bring classic video games from the past into the modern era by recreating them with updated graphics, improved gameplay mechanics, and additional features while preserving the essence and nostalgia of the originals. Okay? So you're going to remake a load of video games.
I feel like we've seen this movie before.
Game selection. Choose a selection of classic video games from various platforms and eras, focusing on titles with significant cultural impact and enduring popularity. Examples could include Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Sonic the Hedgehog, Pac-Man, and Tetris. So they want £800.
Pretty good list.
Yeah, so I messaged them and I said, what do people actually receive? And they said backers or customers might receive various rewards depending on the pledge level or purchase.
It's like a mystery.
This could include digital copies of the game, physical merchandise, the product, the posters or T-shirts, early access to beta versions, special in-game items, or even exclusive content like art books or soundtracks. So then I said, how do you plan to license The Legend of Zelda? So they said, licensing the Legend of Zelda franchise would require negotiating with Nintendo, the owner of the IP. This would involve legal agreements and likely payment of licensing fees to obtain the rights to use the character's settings and other elements of the franchise in the project.
Sounds pretty good. I mean,
I knows what he's up against.
yeah, they know what they're doing. It's not looking good.
I mean, it's like.
So then I
yeah,
asked a
it's like-
couple more questions, and I'll post these in the show notes. All the links we talk about tonight will be in the show notes page, of course. So then one of my questions was, how do you plan to support it for the amount pledged? Supporting the game post-launch would involve providing ongoing updates and patches to address any issues that arise. Yeah, I don't mean technically how, I mean financially for your £800 that you're asking for.
Like, multiply
Mike-
it by about, 10,000. Well, at least, and you might get somewhere close to covering the developers' costs.
So then they
This is
replied
one of
to those
moments where
questions,
you
and
don't
then
need-
and then they sent me another message unprompted, and it said, I would only need the amount of $1,000 to implement a fundamental part of this, since most of the progress of the project I have been able to make by putting part of my savings.
All right, so Mike,
I'm
Sounds
channeling
legit.
someone for
were all of these emails signed I.Goober?
Unfortunately not, no. I could
It-
understand if they were. And then they
This
said,
seems to be like one of his business models.
if you
I was
could...
a bit dismayed Nintendo wouldn't have meetings with me.
Yeah. If you could help me with part of what I need to fulfill this dream, I would be happy to give you more details related to the project. Well, thank you very much,
Fuck
but
me, what a great idea.
I'm out. Jesus. But since then, sadly, they only got 6 backers. I mean, they managed 6, which I'm impressed with. They got £494 of an £800 goal. So
I think it's
unfortunately,
probably somebody.
they won't be
seeding it
remaking
themselves.
Legend of Zelda anytime soon.
For 800 quid, like if they go to the wrong auction sites, they're not even going to buy original copies of Super Mario Brothers: The Legend
No.
of Zelda and Sonic the
No.
Hedgehog for 800 quid, are they?
Oh, dude,
Listen,
I was
if
at
I was at Nintendo, I would be the absolute grifter, and I would give this guy the license like moments before it closed, and just be like, you were so close.
Yeah, have it. There you go, dude. Yeah, you could have had it.
Wow.
So I was at the museum the other night, and there was a plastic bag there, a shopping bag, of stuff someone had donated. It was an N64, a couple of controllers in great condition, power supply, video leads, all of that, and a load of boxed original games, including both Zeldas, Super Mario World. What's there was another one, I can't remember what it was, but it's one of the heavy price ones. Like the Zeldas, you're looking like 100 quid boxed. The condition was unbelievable. Just so well looked after. And someone had just found it and donated it to the museum. What's another high ticket N64 title, Random?
Completely unrelated. Mike's going on holiday next week.
Yeah! And the museum are trying to get hold of me.
Well, Legend of Zelda.
Send me £800 on Kickstarter. But yeah, it's just like a bag of boxed N64 stuff. It was unreal that people just find it and just give it away. In this day and age. I'm happy they did, but wow. Very surprised.
Something else surprising. So we got this one in from Gareth Hamer and a couple other folks posted on Game Rant that The former PlayStation boss finally revealed how many PlayStation 2 numbers. So Jim Ryan joined Sony in 94, and he oversaw the release of a number of different Sony products, including PlayStation, PlayStation 2. And he was interviewed on the official PlayStation podcast recently, where he talked about the official numbers that have never totally been confirmed. But wow, 160 million. So PlayStation 2 launched in October of 2000 and was finally discontinued not until 2013 because of the popularity overseas and stuff like that. So just crazy numbers. I mean, it really ushered in the DVD. They ended up going to the slim model. The first version, there was some with the hard drive and stuff like that, but just crazy to think that they sold so many of those things. Massive library of games. The original MSRP was $299. So there you go.
So when we toured Australia, we went in the beginning of March, and we had 6-month visas. My eldest daughter's birthday is end of July, and she decided she wanted to come home for her birthday at the end of July, which gave us about 4 months, because she wanted a PS2 for her birthday, and she wanted to be home for her birthday and get the PS2. So we cut our visit to Australia short by 2 months just for that.
Wow.
Well, not just for that. They're horribly racist and didn't like us. That was another reason.
Really? Is that true?
That is true.
Really?
That is the... Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean... We're live, but yeah. I mean, I experienced more racism in Australia than anywhere else firsthand. Yeah. And they hate the English as well.
Okay.
Something about being criminals, but we have Australian listeners. I don't want to upset them, but yes, your country and your people didn't like us, and we're very racist.
I seem to remember reading somewhere that there was like some strange statistic that there was like more women born in Australia than men. I don't know, and that sounded like good odds to me. I was like, I have to go check this out.
Get me on a plane, dude.
Yeah, send me, get me there.
Oh dear.
Earlier on we mentioned an engineer who was allegedly working on an FPGA project. Gareth Hamer has sent one in of someone who has actually produced something on an FPGA, and it's a GPU, of all things, that he's open sourcing. And can run Quake at 60 FPS at 720p, which is not bad at all for something someone has cobbled together themselves.
So riddle me this, Random. How do you open source a graphics card?
So all of the design of the logic, the hardware description language for the...
But what, you've got a physical
FPGA.
card?
Well, yeah, and the card, the board layout, because a lot of that, all the power delivery, all the circuitry.
So he's made all the board. He's not just rewritten software for a board, right? Okay.
Oh no, he's done the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
But then and the software. So it's a bit of a shame that he's like gone. So I want this to be an open project and give it. I'll give the plans away for other people to make for free. Doesn't make it for Linux or anything. He's made a Windows stack for the drivers, but But yeah, that's pretty cool though.
One here from Peter Gibbs. I think he's Australian. Sorry, Peter. Nothing personal. Let's click away from that. 8BitDo's new mechanical keyboard is their geekiest yet. Now, is this just a rebadge of the NES one? Random, didn't you get an NES one?
Yeah, it does look like essentially a reskin of the one that my mates got me. It does look cool though.
It does.
I think it
So
looks
8BitDo,
cool,
the makers of the retro-themed gaming goods, have unveiled their latest nostalgia-indulging mechanical keyboard for PC. It's way nerdier than their NES-inspired one. I think it's the same thing, just re-themed Commodore 64 wise, but yeah, it does look very nice. I don't need it, but it does look very nice, and I hope those who have got it enjoy it.
Another quick GPU related one. Got a press release sent in, Kickstarter. It's only got 3 days left, so I guess only anyone who's listening to this live is probably going to be able to get on there. But fella's writing a book about all the sort of history of the PC GPU space. So
Nah, that's we already did that one for another
did you?
person. Send it in.
Did we?
Yeah, the Oblivion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 Got one in here from David Gyrich that is Stop Killing Games. He said, it's a noble cause, but does it have a chance? So it is a online petition to take action against video game companies. It's saying an increasing number of video games are sold as goods, but designed to be completely unplayable for everyone as soon as support ends. Bum, 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 bum. Very true. The legality of this practice is untested worldwide. Governments do not have a clear law regarding these actions. So they're basically protesting the governments of the UK, Canada, and Australia. Plans are underway for the EU as well, and further government petitions. They cite the game The Crew that was published by Ubisoft, which was, had a database for 12 million people, and it was kind of destroyed by the publisher. And, these people have sand in their veg now. And, if you're 18, sign this petition, see what happens. I don't know. I don't think these online petitions do anything. People sign all kinds of petitions all the time. I think I signed one a couple years ago about something or other. I can't remember what people were bitching about, but seemed like a good idea. I don't know if these things ever get in any kind of traction. Do any of you know any of these online petitions do anything? Might put a little pressure on somebody, but I think it just puts pressure on them to wheel out the PR firm and give you a load of bullshit to make it kind of go away. I think it's very rare. I know there was a petition flying around about Microsoft buying Activision and everything. Have a good friend that worked there, and they said, "Oh, we're not gonna get rid of any jobs. We promise if you guys let us combine that we will save all the jobs." And sure enough, he was pretty high up in the organization, and sure enough was let go like a month or two after they combined. And I know there were some online petitions about trying to unring the bell with Microsoft and Activision being allowed to buy it and everything. Guess what? Doesn't mean shit. Not going to happen. Not going to do anything. At least that's my perspective on it. How about, what say you?
So over here,
So-
if you have a petition, and I forget the number, but if you reach a certain threshold of signatures, it has to be debated in Parliament. And the trouble is, all the MPs just scatter when it's happening. They scatter. So
They're look away.
yeah, literally, it's going
Well,
on
yeah,
at the
they-
moment. I won't say the word, but with certain injections and stuff, there's all this stuff going on. And so there's one guy in particular who wants to bring it to a public debate, and they're all as soon as he stands up and starts talking, literally, they get up and walk out. So any of their constituents say, well, what happened in that debate? And they say, oh, I don't know, I wasn't there. And so it goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Fuckers.
So yeah, in terms of whether campaign's going to be at all successful the whole reason we've got to this point is accountants have gone, the game's pulling in this much money in continued sales or microtransactions, the servers cost this much to keep running, they don't balance up anymore, so we just get rid of it, unless it becomes profitable to keep the game alive, then they're not going to, are they? No matter what a petition says.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's the challenge with online-based games. There's a finite amount of time, and I kind of realized that with, I remember, years ago, I loved that Friday the 13th game. It was just a little kind of, C-list game that I funded on Kickstarter, and I mean, I played hundreds of hours of this thing, and I loved it, and it was great playing with people online. There was a single player mode. It's pretty trash, you know, and it's like once that's gone, that's gone. Like you're not playing that again.
Yeah.
Now I know like Resident Evil Outbreak, I was a big fan of that game. I know that there's some like somebody's put up some servers. There's, you know, a little bit of fuckery that you have to do to kind of get to them, but yeah, some of those online games, man, like it's just, I don't know. I think it is what it is. Like they're not gonna keep them going.
Yeah, I mean, Scott's not here anymore. He's ducked out. He's had to go to work. But we talked about this before, and like there's games I bought on Steam, and I know, like they're like £5, and like I know that at some point I may lose access to that game and may never be able to play it again. But I will get £5 of enjoyment out of it, and I'm cool with that. So I'm not going to spend 40 quid on a AAA title that I may lose access to. But, you know, I have kind of a threshold I'm happy to go to. You know, someone's taking the time and effort to make the game. I'll pay a £5 and risk, you know, playing through it a few times, enjoying it, and then never playing it again. But I think you've missed out on one here, Sparkle. From David Gyrick, Vegas Gaming Magazine. Las Vegas official video game magazine. As gaming evolves, video game journalism must evolve with it. Game on is the answer. And it's funded. 47 backers pledged over $4,000 to bring the project to life. So there is going to be a digital Las Vegas Gaming Magazine.
Yeah. This is like it's unbelievable. Good for you for getting it going. It's interesting. He said he's a podcaster. Hell, I'd even like to get this guy on the show just under. Yeah, I'd like to get. I mean,
Any old cunt can do
he's
that.
like a big LAN party guy or something. Like it's not even really clear to kind of understand what's going on.
I mean,
here.
is it gambling machines? Is it slots? Is it?
No, it's like there's esport award. Like there's different like events that come to Vegas, like esport shit and like Twitch groups and LAN gaming it talks about. Like it's quite honestly a little hard for me to kind of follow. And he's going to produce a high quality product each month using Adobe suite of apps and Microsoft, etc.
Woo!
So, you know, I mean, I can't imagine this is going to be printed. Like that's kind of hard to do. It was hard to do over a decade ago. It's even harder today. They want to have 1,000 subscribers. I have no idea. I mean, there's nothing really to look at from a sample. How this guy fleeced people for almost $5,000 is just like a fucking miracle to me. You know, they had a bunch of people sign up to be a featured backer. Hell, man, maybe the time is right, and I need to dust off the magazine.
Get those templates out, dude.
I mean, yeah, it's, you know.
So esports is an interesting one. So there was quite a bit of a push over here the last few years to bring esports into schools as part of the curriculum.
Oh, God.
So like, but you're not. So you'd put in a room of gaming PCs so kids could play games and compete. But like they sell it to schools as well. Esports is all sorts of careers. You need media people. You need, you know, mental health people. You need physical health people. You need coaches. Yes, you need gamers, but you need all the people and the management behind them. So there's a whole bunch of careers. And the esports curriculum is lots of modules of each thing, and then you can specialize in what you want to do later on. And they had all these facts and figures, because I went on a couple of these, you know, days out and presentations and stuff. And like they were saying, the last football World Cup, which is generally that and the Olympics are the biggest sporting events in the world, you know, for viewers. But they were saying like the last big esports event, not actual live at the time watching, but views overall, like over the week of the event or whatever, had more views than the Football World Cup did. So there are numbers there, and they fill these massive arenas, but like it's not made the break into mainstream. And some schools do it. I never got it sold to our school. Not that I was particularly pushing it that hard, but it seems to have fallen a bit by the wayside at the moment. But is it big over there? Is it in schools over there?
Listen, I met a guy that was like he was in the Bitcoin investing and stuff, and he had sold part of a video game team that he invested in, and he had a significant amount of money. And I mean, I don't know what to make of it. Either he was completely full of shit, or it was like a real thing, and it was just like shocking to me that this dude had this fucking money. So I don't know. I mean, I can't call it, man. It's kind of bizarre.
But I mean, what they're saying makes sense. You know, you do need, you know, like you've got kids playing video games professionally. You need people to look after them, and you know, is an esports curriculum like a career path? Because when when my one of my kids, my middle daughter was at high school, we watched, like, they showed us this video. We went to the school, and it was a private school. Lots of famous people went there, and they showed us this video. And it was like, kids are learning or training for jobs now that don't exist yet. And it was all these stats and things that, like, they were training kids, you know, on all these courses and things, and the jobs weren't there, but by the time the kids were at working age, they would be, kind of thing. And I was always asking the question, like, are we setting these kids up for failure, or are they going to come out of an esports course and find a job there, or are we training the next, you know, set of service workers, or, you know, supermarket checkout people or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think would have to talk to people, not us, because I think all of us, like, probably are of an age where we can't quite understand it. I mean, some of these esport things are huge. And for some of those I think a lot of our listeners are going to have a hard time kind of wrapping our head around how popular Twitch and some of these things are. And like, I don't know about you, but I can't sit there and really watch playthrough videos. The only time I really watch a playthrough video is if I'm personally having difficulty with a level or something, and I need to see how I do some timing or something. But I mean, it's not very often that I've watched through anything. There might have been a handful of games where I was never able to finish them, and I just kind of wanted to see somebody play through the end, or a speed run or something. But it's just like actively watching other people play games. Like, I would rather play the fucking game myself. So I don't get it personally. Random, how about you?
Oh, I watch quite a fair bit of gameplay stuff. I mean, it's usually, I don't watch sort of pure playthroughs. It's more sort of people like Giant Bomb and Nextlander that will essentially create, you know, an entertainment content out of it. And a lot of it is just kind of like watching it as I fall asleep in bed, or while I'm like shaving in the bath and things like that. When I wouldn't
That's weird.
I wouldn't be able to focus on something full, like, narratively, but I can sort of, you know, have something that's just people playing a game. And especially like
you should stream yourself shaving in the bath, watching a game stream, and commenting on it.
Shaving me balls. I like to watch Super Mario playthrough videos.
Yeah, we'd all watch that. The only time I've watched playthroughs is like videos. Not so much nowadays, but like when I lived on my own and stuff, I would watch a playthrough. I'd just stick it on, and it would be like a game that I know I'm not going to literally sit and physically play through, like, say, Dead Space or Halo or something like that. A game I don't really like, but I feel like I should see some of the content and what it's got, to bring to the table, kind of thing. So I would just sit down, start editing like a top 10 or a live news. So my focus audio-wise is on that, but visually, the TV up there on the wall has got like Dead Space playthrough, playing through. That's the only time I would really do that. But I would only pick games that I'm not going to physically sit down and play.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do stuff that I don't either like new games that I'm kind of interested in and want to be able to have, people are going to ask me stuff about it.
Yeah. Like The
I'm
Last
not
of
just-
Us.
I'm not
I'd
gonna
seen
have time
people
to
play parts of The Last of Us, and essentially it's an FPS with a bit of story. I'm not going to play that. I didn't like what I saw when I saw them playing it, but I felt it was culturally relevant enough that I feel I should know something about it. So I watched a playthrough.
We got, kind of tied into that. David sent in another article, which is kind of a report on video gaming that kind of came out. So, a bunch of data was kind of crunched, and they found out that 60% of playtime in 2023 went to 6-year-old games or older. And I think what's interesting there is, I think we've seen a slowdown in the economy to some degree. At least with large purchases. So like interest rate, like over here, like housing is kind of at a standstill because the interest rates are so high, the prices are still up. Same with new car sales. Like there's some big issues about to happen for the auto industry over here because interest rates are so high. People are kind of locked into their vehicles and they can't get new ones. And I wonder if some of that's like just kind of related to this data that came out where it says, some of the biggest games right now are Fortnite, GTA, Call of Duty, Roblox, like some of these games that have been around for a while, Minecraft, Rocket League, Apex Legend, Fall Guys, So there's a lot of stuff in here on this list that, people are playing. You got a couple new ones like the new FIFA game, but you got Smash Brothers United. Some of these games are quite a bit old, and you got to imagine if they went beyond that top 10, there's probably a lot of other games that are even older that people are still kicking around. And it's just like, is it I think Scott would probably sit here and say, hey, it's because they don't make any new good new games anymore. But that is interesting that over half of the games that were played that at least they could crunch some data on were older than 6 years old.
Yeah, so
Well, yeah,
tied into that over here, it's not a news item, but I did read it. I forget the percentage now, but by far the majority, probably around the 68 we're talking about here, or 60, whatever, of games were played on mobile, not console. And like everyone has a phone, not everyone can afford a console or buy games for a console or whatever. So most gameplay over here was done on mobile.
Well, yeah, and like, the entire point really of Microsoft's takeover of Activision was to get King for Candy Crush. That's the main driver.
Yeah.
It's not Call of Duty. That is going to make enough money, but it's not going to make. It doesn't make anywhere near as much money as like Candy Crush and shit like that do. And if you look at all these titles, a lot of them, they are old, but they are also a period of where live service, games were coming out, so they're, evergreen, essentially to their users. So Grand Theft Auto, Roblox, and Minecraft and Rocket League. And since then you've had a lot of people trying to chase that, that sort of golden goose, and not really cracking it. Like you see some successes like Hell Divers and things like that, but I think it feels a lot like when WoW got really big and loads of people were subscribing to that and spending a lot of their playtime there instead of other places. So everyone started trying to build their own MMOs, but there was just so many of them, and they all just fell by the wayside. Because they were just like too little too late, but people were also not willing to try and put 100 hours into something else that when they've already got 1,000 have invested in, and the other one, and they'll just keep with that. So you've probably got a lot of that happening with this. If you try and make a Rocket League 2, is anyone from Rocket League going to move over to it unless you force them? Probably not. And even then, we saw with Overwatch trying to force people into Overwatch 2, they bodged that, and now not a lot of people play Overwatch anymore. So yeah, I think that's just the way it is, isn't it? and
So-
it's only going to get worse because I think there's a generation growing up playing a lot of Roblox, Minecraft, and Rocket League,
Yeah.
and they're going to get older and still, want to be playing shit like that.
I know someone who's still obsessed with PUBG.
Which, to be fair, like a lot of PUBG dropped off their audience, and oddly, a lot of them moved on to like even old dudes that were into PUBG. They've moved over to Fortnite now.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine who is the PUBG person, they went over to Fortnite, didn't like it, and went back to PUBG. So one here submitted by me, submitted by David Gyrick, submitted by Alan Hedgedus, and this is the most iconic video game character ever in all the world ever of all time ever was Lara Croft. What do we think about
Rigged.
that?
I feel like you rigged this.
Rigged.
Well, so
Was it always
did
going to
you
be a
notice-
birthing person? Is that why? Is that where you're going?
No. So I submitted this as well. This was BAFTA that did it, who have a very, very UK like slant to all of their awards.
Yeah.
So it's not terribly surprising.
Well, it's the
that-
British Academy, isn't it? British Academy of Film and
Yeah.
Television Awards.
Yeah. So it's like when you see like Edge magazine reviews and awards and stuff. There'll always be. Well, I don't know if there still is, but there certainly always used to be. You get an extra 2 points if you're a UK developer on your review, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, you did submit it as well. I've just seen that one.
I mean, I find it hard to believe, man. Mario has to be more recognizable.
Yeah, it's like the category was most iconic. Like you think of video games, your go-to isn't Lara Croft. I love Tomb Raider. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
But
I'd like to
it's
see
like-
the
it's
lineup.
Mario. It's got to be Mario.
It got to be a picture of like probably smoking Laura Croft with her like titties hanging out, and then it's like Mario, Sonic, and Pac-Man, and they asked a bunch of like incels, like, "What do you think's the most iconic?"
Yeah. What do you think of Pac-Man's titty? Oh, you can't see them. Yeah. It's got to be
Yeah,
Mario. It
and-
just has to be.
Or even Sonic would be bigger. So yeah, it's just bonkers, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
got to look at the amount of sales that the Mario film did compared to any other gaming franchise. That kind of must tell you a lot. But hey,
So Barkbit
Well-
in chat, he's new actually. We should mention that. We said hello to him earlier. Barkbit in chat, it's his first ever live news. So congratulations on breaking your duck. Well done. And welcome. And he said, going back a few minutes, not sure what new game I would pony up $60. Usually go for older, cheaper games. I'm right there with you on that. So this was an interesting one, I thought, sent by me. CEX, no fix, no fee repair service. So CEX, Sparkle, as you're watching the football on your TV there, is kind of like a GameStop kind of thing. But, they take in traded iPads, game consoles, controllers, games, all of that kind of stuff, mobile phones. And they are offering now a no fix, no fee tech repair service, but it includes retro consoles. So you rock up there with your NES, and if they can't fix it, they won't charge you for the work they've done, which I thought was interesting. I'd like to see the small print, but
I'd like to see the state they give it back to you in.
yeah,
Yeah.
we couldn't fix it, and we lost a couple of screws. No biggie.
Some guy made a YouTube video where he took an angle grinder to it.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting concept, though, for like a fairly mainstream retail store, though.
Got another one in.
Take
from
them your
David.
modded Game Boy in.
Yeah. Got another one in from David talking about how they have new policy, Apple Store guidelines to permit game emulators, website links, and EU music apps now in the European Economic Area. Not over here, though. So, man, you guys have like, there's constantly like lawsuits and shit over there. It seems like the European Commission, I don't know. Do you fall within the European Economic
Not
Area
since
for
Brexit.
this?
Not anymore.
No, we
No,
used to, not
okay.
anymore.
All right.
But
Wasn't
you're right,
sure
they
if
are
you're
fuckers.
part of the. Yeah, so now I don't know. Apps can be offered certain software that's not embedded in the binary, specifically HTML5, and it's just like I don't know what they're trying to do. But game emulators are going to be able to, sneak on there, I guess, in the future, which would be kind of cool.
So there are some out there already. But didn't
Yeah,
they pull
Delta's
one?
been-
Haven't they pulled one random?
I don't know whether they.
Or
pulled
said they're
one
not gonna
or-
do one. Which was it?
I think they said like Dolphin they're not going to be able to do for some reason, but I didn't see why.
Yeah, but they said, oh, it's not performance, it's something else. I
Yeah,
can't
it's because
remember
they
what
have to supply copyrighted
it was.
stuff with it,
Yeah,
presumably.
yeah. But they are on there. If you have a look, get in the store, Sparkle. Get yourself an emulator.
I mean, it's kind of annoying. It's like a lot of times I see those little devices, like I'll be on social media or like just on the website or something. And I'll see like, oh, that looks cool. Or, some story will come across in the news every once in a month or so. And it's like, here's some new, like, dingle dangle device and you can put your ROMs on it. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound bad. It's like $70. Like I could use that. Like, why not? I just wish there was some damn thing I could just strap my phone in and it had a couple buttons and maybe, because I don't like doing the touch shit on the glass.
The Razer.
But I mean,
is
it's-
it the Razer? The
Yeah.
Bluetooth controller. Get one of them. They do an iPhone one.
But with like the emulator and everything, like I just want to be able to like somehow put my ROMs on it and do what I want to do. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I have seen that Razer thing, but like, I don't know how to. There's probably some way of doing it, right?
Look up Delta. That's the one that everyone's been raving about, and it's basically a front end for a few emulator cores, but apparently it makes it very easy to get the files onto an iPhone
Right.
through either AirDrop or it just pulls them out of your downloads folder on your phone.
For non-jailbroken, okay.
Hmm.
Well, there you
And
go.
yeah, people are saying like it works with Bluetooth controllers. You can AirPlay it to a TV to make it a mini console. All sorts of shit.
I tried that with a phone a few years ago. Couple of years ago, maybe. Just horrendous lag between like a Bluetooth controller sending you. I think I had an HDMI connector on the phone to a TV. Just like nah, not playable.
Yeah.
But give it a bash. PSX launch documentary from David Gyrick. And we should say, as we usually do, David Gyrick, Lord Neil Palmer, Gareth Hamer, once again smashed it out of the park with the new submissions. Thank you. And everyone else, Alan Hedgerus got on the scoreboard as well. One or two others, Sloth Machine,
Peter Gibbs.
Peter Gibbs, Ryan Toole. And what this one was, a PSX launch documentary, as I said. And it is a YouTube video. I'm going to... We should be muted. DF Retro Marathon, Sony PlayStation, PS1, every launch game tested. So he's gone through the list of launch titles for the PlayStation. And he shows you a bit of footage of each and talks about each one. So...
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
all
I
three-
did
all
skip
three
through the
regions
video.
separately.
Yeah. I did skip through the video, didn't watch every minute of it, but yeah, I remember
There's a
unboxing
few
my
things-
PS1 on Christmas Day, whacking in the demo disc and watching a few demo. I think was Colin McRae on one of them and Gran Turismo, but I had the games anyway. Yeah. Hey, launch consoles Christmas Day. That was a thing.
Yeah, there's a few of the DF Retro Marathon stuff, like the long form video, really long videos that they've re sort of surfaced on YouTube. So there's another one that's every 32x game,
Right.
and then there's another one that's about different water rendering throughout history in games, which is pretty cool. And then the one about PlayStation 3, about which games actually managed to hit 1080p after all of their promises about 1080p. Yeah. So,
You sent one in here, random. I think we mentioned it last month. It may even be open now. It's an article on Plymouth Live, on the Plymouth
Oh, yeah.
Herald, and it's their new awesome Retro Games Arcade will open next month. Now, when is this from? It's in April, so beginning of April, so hopefully it will be open not long after you listen to this podcast, unless you're in live news now, in which case time is different when you're live.
Something
But
like that.
yes, Plymouth getting a new Retro Arcade.
Going to say as well with you, as obviously saying thanks to all of the news submitters, and if anyone's able to make it to any expos where we are also visiting, whether as with a booth or not, make sure you come and find us and say hello, and we shall find some way to reward you for your continued efforts.
Exactly. You're coming to Revival, aren't you?
Yeah, should be. With having some various health issues with the in-laws.
Yeah.
But
Are you
I'll
staying?
be
or
there
are
for at
you...
least a day. I should be staying, but yeah, we'll have
Right.
to see.
Okay. I think are you free Monday? I think I'm interviewing Craig about the expo on Monday.
Not in the day.
No, it'd be evening.
Just bit of behind the scenes for listeners here.
Yeah. Anyway, no pressure. Let me know.
Bank holidays next week.
It is.
Depending on the time, I might be around.
Okay. We'll do it offline then. A little.
All right.
We broke the fourth wall for a minute there, didn't we? Gareth Hamer says, we're saved. I don't know what we're saved from until I click on it. Retro gaming can be the saviour of the whole game industry. So is this... I think it's related to the 60%, 6 years or older games? Or is this going even further back? Let's have a look.
A bit about Sega doing their revival of franchises. New games are taking too long and too much money to make.
That's been a thing for a while. Buying one game that costs £70 is the same as buying 3 that cost 23. So why not do that? I would agree with that. No game
Well,
is
it
worth
depends if
£70.
you've got time to play 3 games. Maybe you've only got time to play 1 game.
Yeah, but no game is worth £70. Discuss. No game I've ever played is worth £70.
How do you put value on stuff? So I've played games.
I
for
compare it
hundreds of
to other
hours.
media. I could rent a video or a DVD or
How
buy a film on YouTube or Prime or whatever
So what we
for
saying,
less than a
like,
fiver and have an hour and a half entertainment. So
So
a
a
video
fiver
game,
for an
let's
hour and a
say I
half.
put 20 hours in or 30 hours, multiply that up. What does that come out at? That probably comes out at more. Have I destroyed
Use
my
some
own
UK
argument?
math.
you just exactly. How much of that wine have you drunk?
Yeah, I think Drunky Time Mike's about to show up.
Well,
Here we go.
20 hours at £5 an hour is £100.
I wouldn't pay that.
So that's going to pay 70.
But
So yeah.
all right, so
Oh,
it instead of equating it to hours, because I clearly lost that argument, a video, a movie, starts, begins, has a story, and ends in that timeline. an hour and a half,
Mhm.
2 hours, whatever it might be. A video game has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but is it worth 30 times as much?
It depends how engaging that content. If it's full of filler, which unfortunately, yeah, some games are, then no. But if you're playing something that's, say, I don't know, like well, Splatoon, which didn't cost me $70, but it's it's short little matches, and you're constantly playing, you're constantly having fun, you're constantly engaged. So if you put in 200 hours where you're got exactly the as much, or if not increasing enjoyment levels as you get better, then that possibly is better than that. But yeah, if it's something like, I don't know, Starfield, where the first half an hour might be all right, then there's 60 hours of nonsense walking around randomly generated planets, and then a rubbish conclusion at the end, then no, that wouldn't be, even though you had put that much time in.
So how much then does a movie cost to make compared to a video game?
That's loaded though, because that really
yeah.
depends on the talent in the movie, right?
Okay.
Well, all sorts
Yeah.
of things, the locations and
Right, yeah.
ambition.
Special effects. I mean, there's a
So
whole lot.
okay,
that-
how much does a AAA game cost to make?
Without
Are you talking
marketing,
100 million or much less?
more now?
More?
Probably 300 million.
Let's
for,
say
for the big Sony stuff.
what
before
does
marketing.
let's say
and that's probably bigger than the
what
biggest
does an
movie cost
Avengers
to make.
movie cost to make?
Yeah, that's probably around close to $270 million or something.
So
to make
similar?
that.
Would you say similar to a video game
But-
or less?
But they make that movie. They make that movie in probably about 18 months or so, maybe 24. Where something like Grand Theft Auto might take them 5 or 6 years to put together.
But if you're paid, I see what you're saying, but it doesn't matter.
No,
What matters
it
is the
doesn't.
bottom line.
Yeah.
So if you're making a movie, let's say you make a movie for 300 million, and you make a video game for 300 million. Doesn't matter how long each one takes. Why do you sell a movie for £15 at the cinema compared to a video game for £70 at retail?
Because more people will go and see a movie.
But they say the video game industry is bigger than videos and music combined. So how can you have it both ways?
In total, but not per game. If you see what I mean. So there's more addressable audience, but not on a per game basis, because there's a wider array of stuff.
So the bottom line of this argument then is video games cost way too much money to make.
Yes,
No.
people are. Yeah,
That's my
there is a big
takeaway.
problem. Yeah, a big problem that people are making too many big things. So like the PlayStation 2 era was great because like Sony would fund loads and loads of smaller games as well as the bigger games.
Yeah.
And now they just focus, their whole brand is on, the
big
Spider-Mans
franchises.
and the God of Wars, and the Last of Us, all these big.
Why did they not
tentpole
learn from
games,
that
and
though?
they-
We talked about it earlier, like the PlayStation. How many? 106.
No,
what was it?
but
162
that's
million
the
it
thing.
sold. The biggest video game library ever. And that was a rosy time for the industry. You had the three big guns. You had the Xbox, the PS2, and the GameCube all going at it together. And now the industry is in a completely different place, and they've just gone down the wrong path. What do you-
But now you can have it's very rare that you found a single developer that made an indie game for the PlayStation 2 where for the PlayStation 4 and 5 you've really seen a lot of these little guys that have kind of come out, like Thomas Happ that made Axiom Verge. It literally wrote it himself, like it was a one-man band. So I think now you could there's Unity and there's other tools where you could really make something as a smaller team or smaller developer in completion than you could during the PlayStation 2 era. So there's sort of not a need for what you're talking about, Random, in a way, for them to fund sort of all this lower tier stuff. Now people can kind of make it themselves.
Yeah, they have democratized democratization of development and self-publishing means that yes, they're relying on third parties, smaller third parties, and big indies and then medium indies and small indies to fill in the gaps. The problem is that, especially for the smaller indies and stuff, is finding enough, being able to get enough people aware of your game to actually get it to, you get
Pre-sell
like
it
the
on
very
Kickstarter.
occasional success, like
Yeah.
Balatro blew up massively, but then there's a whole slew of other games similar to that have come and gone and that a lot of people won't have noticed, and that person's then that might be their only chance at making and selling a game.
Well,
So, yeah,
moving
it's
on
tricky.
to something
Just
different.
before you do, the British IBM have commented random. They said video games cost nothing to make. You just need a balsa wood controller and an old Dreamcast.
That's right. Well, the balsa wood controllers for the Raspberry Pi. But,
And I said, or a single foot pedal and some ads. Good evening,
Well, I
AD.
think- I think this one's going to get a little spicy, considering it's involving the most iconic video game character of all time. So this one came in from Sloth Machine. Hey guys, Nick here. I've been a silent listener for over 10 years. Listening to your podcast has become a routine every month, and I eagerly await your show. Scott's hardware flashback is always entertaining, especially when he gets technical, and half of what he says goes right over my head. But I figured maybe I'm learning something along the way. You guys shooting the shit and talking about classic games is a real comfort. I appreciate all the work you do, and I especially respect UK Mike, Scott, Sparkle, and Random's insight and opinions on games. Especially Sparkle. He seems like a super cool dude. I'd want to hang out with him all the time. I don't understand
think he
why
says
he
that,
isn't the
does
most
he?
possible. All of his picks on all the top 10 should always win every single time.
I don't think he
Now
says
that I got that out of the way,
sent
I
from
thought I would start by
Sparkle's
sending
mum's
some news.
iPhone.
Lots of times I see an article that would have been fun banter. I figure someone else will probably send it, and only for it to be skipped. Well, Mike, I know you're a fan of classic Tomb Raider, just am I.
I am.
And a new woke direction of Tomb Raider looks troubling. It is worse than the awful disclaimer Crystal Dynamics flashes just before Tomb Raider Remastered Edition starts up that says, "This game is offensive." These companies hate source material, but they love the money they bring in. This will crash and burn. And he sends a link to the new Tomb Raider series to escape its colonial past. And I guess they're seeking to redefine Tomb Raider because they said, raiding as depicted on the original Tomb Raider games and stories involved going to ancient tombs and historical sites of different civilizations and acquiring artifacts. And it operates on the assumption of finders keepers and grants raiders with the means and the drive to claim ownership over artifacts, regardless of whether they have any historical or cultural claim to the treasure. So I guess they're saying, like, now Laura is no longer going to decorate her mantle with mystical artifacts, but she is going to use her humanity and struggle with heroism and her tenacity, and celebrate culture and history while acknowledging and respecting the work required to live in a world wounded by colonialism or something. So I have no idea what the fuck this is. This is like, it seems a bit bizarre. I mean, it's fucking Tomb Raider, right? Like, you break in and steal shit. So I don't understand. Mike, what's your take on it? Oh, and thanks, Slot Machine. I appreciate being your number one person on the show.
Assuming that was in the actual email, of course. Yeah, it's like, so raiding tombs, exploring, these far-off exotic places and uncovering history and taking, souvenirs home to put in your mansion. That's not cool anymore, so we don't do that. So they're trying to erase that from Tomb Raider. So Tomb Raider is not about raiding tombs anymore. And the other bit of it was in the... So I think we did a news story last month about Easter eggs in the new remastered release of Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. And some of those Easter eggs they're now taking out. Like, there's a bit in one of the games where... I don't know if it's Lara, but someone opens a locker and there's a picture of Lara in like a bikini or reclining or something. And that was an Easter egg, but now they've taken that out because, oh no, that's objectifying women and what have you. So, yeah, it's Tomb Raider's going a bit woke. But, I mean, I don't really care. The essence of Tomb Raider is those original 5 games, and that's what I'm clinging on. Till my fingernails fall out, I'm clinging on to those original 5.
That reminds me. I've forgotten another game I've been playing, which is The Angel of Darkness, which I've finally been sort of slowly playing through while Amber's in therapy. I have a bit of time with it. That game's really bad.
Yeah.
Worse than I'd been led to believe, in just fundamental ways. But yeah, my playthrough is currently stuck at the moment because I'm in a room with 2 levers and flaming skeletons and a hole in the floor, and I have no idea what to do to progress from this room. So I just like occasionally, put some music on, run around for 10 minutes trying to figure it out, realize I can't, and then go and do something else.
Yeah.
But one day I'll finish it.
Yeah. I gave up on that game quite early on, probably within the first 2 or 3 levels, because
It's quite broken
Oh yeah.
in a number of ways.
Yeah. It was, and still is. Okay, what's this one? The end of game. So as I mentioned, I was talking about CEX before, not game. Game is basically our version of GameStop. Game staff are told to expect redundancies as most workers move to 0-hour contracts. It's unclear how many jobs will be lost. So, game's in a bit of trouble. It's all those £70 games that's causing that. And then, did you send this one in random? You did. Somebody else did a little bit further down. More Tommy and SoCal parallels.
Oh yeah.
And who else? Just further down here, I'm sure somebody else sent it about Tommy Tallarico. But he obviously was behind Video Games Live. And apparently he's been selling musical arrangements that were created for Video Games Live, but not by him, by somebody else. And they have said, well, you can't do that. And there's a whole thing about it. You can read at your leisure, or it's on time extension. I know somebody else sent it.
These are the same. What I think musicians. That's the one that he threw under the bus when he was, threw under the plane when he got caught. What was it? He was like smuggling shit into Brazil, and
yeah, he had to. Did he have actual cash? Was it too much cash? Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Not good.
No. The dumbest retro handheld device, according to David Gyrick and Retro Dodo, was the BitBoy 1, the handheld that can hold your Bitcoin. I'm not sure. A handheld game device and Bitcoin belong in the same webpage, but for those that enjoy handheld consoles and investing in crypto, your day has come. And that's all I'm going to read of that article. If you want to read further, you can do it in your own time. But thank you, David Gyrick.
How about Tigrin Rift sent this one in, and this is the processor used in Pac-Man is being discontinued 48 years after it launched. So the Zilog Z80 8-bit microprocessor has finally reached the end of its commercial lifespan, 48 years after it first hit the market. Designed by Federico Fagan and Mr. Shima, it was developed by a team of 11 people. And that's weird. So to think that it was still being produced. So I guess like gobble them up or something. I mean, I guess all these things are eventually going to die, right? I mean, it's electronics, so
The actual Z80 will die. You won't be able to buy those at some point, but we have FPGAs now. You can recreate one in a little FPGA, I guess.
yeah. But I mean, in some way in the future, you just won't ever be able to play original Pac-Man on original hardware.
No, I think you always will. So it
Really?
runs on it. Yeah, you would change the processor for. It might not be a straight swap, so you know where the processor sits on the board, you might need to socket that, and then you would put in an FPGA that does the same thing. You will always have a replacement once someone builds it, but I don't think we'll get to a stage where you can never fix your Pac-Man game because there's no Z80s available anymore.
Okay.
Personally, Random, what do you think?
No, people. Yeah, a lot of this will just be, likely FPGA.
Mm.
It used to be that people would make, clone hardware, but I don't think they even bothered anymore, do they? It's just no point designing and trying to do manufacturing runs on specific ASICs when you can just, have the, find a suitable FPGA and then, people they're going to be built in batch for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah,
So you can
because
just pick
I mean the
them up.
Z80, it's got to be, it's it's still going 40 odd years later, but it's got to be a fairly simple processor in essence. So as long as you can find a cheap enough small FPGA that can replicate the functions and the pinouts, etc., you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. God damn, we got a ton of news this month. I mean,
Oh yeah, we
This
ain't
is-
doing all this.
oh yeah, we are.
We've got a few more left in us yet, though.
See you later, Sparkle.
Have at it.
Got one from Ryan Toole and I think Gareth Hamer as well, which was so people have been developing a replacement Nintendo network for the Wii U and I think 3DS as well to a certain degree. Obviously, people knew ahead of time that the online services were going to get taken down, and it used to require jailbreaking to install the right bits and pieces in, but now, as soon as Nintendo had turned off the servers, they released the news that they had found a way to point your console towards their DNS servers, and it will allow a fair amount, not everything, of their own sort of custom Nintendo network replacement to work without any modification of your console needed. However, I would say at this point you might as well hack your Wii U and your 3DS because there's a lot of other cool shit you can do.
Exactly. So I'm just cleaning out the inbox. So if you click on something and it's not what you expect, just refresh the inbox. So I'm just looking through. A lot of people submitted that Z80 / Pac-Man processor story. Carl Klitsky was one. There was a few others. Alan Hedger just one of them. I'm just sliding things out of the inbox to.
Here's one interesting that I want to bring up. So this one was sent in that Atari is reviving the legendary games publisher Infogrames.
Infogrames.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. I mean, they had done Alone in the Dark, which was sold to THQ, but Atari's been on the move a little bit since they got this new CEO. I mean, the article goes on to state how in the 90s through 2000s they scooped up a number of other game developers and publishers like Gremlin, Ocean, Hasbro Interactive. Then everything kind of went belly up 2013, and then Atari bought back the rights to over 100 games recently, and now they got Infogrames again, and it looks like this Wade Rosen dude, the guy that's been making moves, the new CEO of Atari, he posted up on X that they're bringing back the publishing label. So I'm not like I wasn't a fan of the price point of the last Atari system they put out, but I mean I thought the form factor was cool, and it wasn't for me, but hell, if this guy can bring it back, I mean, there's very little things that are as iconic as Atari. I mean, it's up there, right? I mean, hell,
Well, this
I'd be
is
happy to
okay.
see them revive some shit.
This Atari's very iconic, right? How big was Infogram over in America as a sort of a publisher or well, and some amount of development? Because it doesn't feel like they're that big a deal and like that well revered, compared to a lot of older publishers. So why not just keep using the Atari brand to publish stuff?
Yeah.
Or do they feel that they've tainted Atari too much? I don't. It seems like an odd choice to bring Infogrames back, but
What's in the
I don't
library?
know.
Is it
Well, they
library
own all the. It
specific?
doesn't matter. They own all the library anyway.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, so why
Yeah,
not just
they
publish
bought them
them
all
as Atari?
yeah,
Mm.
I couldn't work out what they were doing.
It's got to be some weird legal deal.
I mean, they got like
Could be.
Bubsy and Demolition Racer and some other stuff.
Flashback. Infogram Flashback? That was French, wasn't it?
Hmm. I'm trying to think who owns that because people have been making flashback games. But yeah, because I mean, like Atari bought.
Alone in the Dark. Let's have a look.
Draken, Wacky Races,
All the
Enter the
backyard
Matrix,
sports stuff. That
yeah.
won't be it. So
Neverwinter Nights and Alone in the Dark.
Civilization,
But yeah, but they already owned all of it.
Duke Nukem, Land of the Babes, Oddworld.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Never
felt
Wi-
like they have like a like enough of a name recognition that people would recognize it.
Definitely do, but as big as Atari? Now we had a story about Fantasy Star before. Fantasy Star Collection is Infogram.
Interesting.
They just
Yeah,
published
they
it
would
or
have
something.
published it for.
Yeah. Scrabble.
Oh God, while we're on
no,
Atari,
it's
I
Scrabble.
don't-
We know that. No, that's it. It's Scrabble. It's all about the Scrabble.
Well, while we're on Atari news, I don't know if it's come in. I've not seen it. Did anyone? Oh yeah, someone else sent it in. The new Yars Revenge game. Did anyone see the trailer for that?
I didn't.
Oh, should check that out. They've just made a Metroidvania game that didn't look very good.
Oh yes, I did. I did see that.
I struggled to see what this particularly had to do with Yars Revenge.
Who sent it? Where am I looking? I can't see it.
David Gyrick, although that's just looks like just a teaser trailer that's gone linked to. I'm sure I saw more. What was it? Oh, it was in the Triple I showcase.
Did you
They showed a
delete
bit
some
more.
or something?
No, I've moved them into the archive.
Okay. So I was like, wait a minute, where'd everything go?
Yeah. The bottom folder, news archive, everything we ever got is in
Yeah,
there.
so Atari's moving, gonna join forces with Way Forward to make a new, Metroidvania. I don't know. I mean, I generally like Metroidvania games, so I'd probably enjoy it. Was not a fan of Yars, but
Oh, Yaz is awesome, dude.
I just never got it. I just never understood.
I'm not a big Yars person. I know a lot of people are, but it always just seems a bit abstract, and I don't necessarily understand the point of what I'm doing.
Where the hell is the here it is. Yes. Okay, I wanted to read this one. So, a Golden Axe animated series is being developed for Comedy Central. This one from Joey Parr. So, looks like it's gotten a voice cast. It got some different people from The Americans, Jury Duty, Grand Crew, Star Trek Lower Decks, Spartacus, and it's going to follow veteran warriors, Axe Battler, Tyrus Flare, and Gildas Thunderhead. So, it could be interesting. I mean, I used to I think I was in middle school and they did a Conan cartoon for a little while. It was pretty cool. Let's see. So, maybe this is their way of maybe kind of dipping into seeing what else they can do with some of this IP that's just kind of sitting around. I mean, I don't know if little kids are going to know anything about Golden Axe at this point. I mean, it's been forever. I can't remember. What was that Beast Rider game that came out that was pretty trash?
That was terrible, yeah.
15 years ago or something at this point. I mean, they've just literally sat on it. I mean, even I pick up these Double Dragon games. They seem to pop out every couple years. It's like some other, reimagined Double Dragon game. It's like, I don't understand why Sony or Sega can't seem to do that. I mean, really could just be basically the same game. And you'd have people like me that are just going to plunk down the $25 to buy it or whatever. So anyway,
they did Streets of Rage 4, and I think that did pretty well for them.
Yeah,
So,
that was pretty good.
Yeah,
I bought that.
Surprising they don't do something cool like that. Do a new Golden Axe like that. But
I don't think a Golden Axe cartoon is something I'd watch. I mean, I like the game. Yeah, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up.
No, you don't.
I do like Golden Axe.
You do not like the game.
I do. I've talked about it before. So in every genre of games, like beat-em-ups, there was an era I played beat-em-ups, and then I didn't play them again because I'd done them. They don't change. And side-scrolling beat-em-ups like Golden Axe, I don't need to play Streets of Rage. I have done. It's awful. Double Dragon, I played it. It's awful. Golden Axe is where it's at with side-scrolling beat-em-ups. And there was an era I played it, completed it, don't feel the need to play them again. But a cartoon of it, I don't know. I'd dip into the game still now and then. Not a huge amount, but now and then. But a cartoon of it, are you not just remaking He-Man and She-Ra kind of thing?
I mean, look, I was talking this is crazy. So, growing up here, we had cartoons on Saturday mornings. Now I'm gonna sound like fucking old man on my soapbox or some shit. But yeah, I think I've talked about this before. It's I think it's weird for my kids because especially my youngest, she doesn't have those cultural beats. We kind of had a handful of channels growing up. Most kids watch cartoons on Saturday mornings. We all kind of watch the same shows. There wasn't that many choices for us. So you kind of you'll meet people that are your same age that are early 40s or whatever. And you're like, hey man, you remember, Transformers? And they're like, fuck yeah. Cause there was only so many things to do or play or watch or whatever, we all kind of had these similar beats growing up. And now it's my daughter is never going to find, good luck finding somebody that watched some of these random ass YouTube shows that you watch that some kid eating, a cobra made out of jelly bean material or something or whatever the hell the shit is she watches. And that's cool to her and she likes this one person or whatever. But I mean, it's not a huge audience. It's not you're going to find a whole lot of people. I mean, even some of the podcasts, there's so many small niches now that it's just kind of strange. So I turned on Saturday morning. I was like, you know what cartoons they even do on Saturday mornings anymore here in America? And literally every fucking major broadcast channel, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, which are are the broadcast here, that you can get over the airwaves still. And all of them have goddamn animal shows on. They all have some kind of animal show in the morning now. So on Saturdays, it'll be some dude and he's petting a kangaroo, telling you about a marsupial. And you flip to the other channel, and it's some lady telling you about how zebras aren't really related to horses or something. So they're just all animal shows. There's no cartoons There's
UK
no
Mike
toys.
goes dogging.
Yeah, but there's no relatable toy or like, you're not gonna be like, hey mom, like I just saw that great fucking marsupial show. Can you get me some koala pants that I need to wear them to school because that's the hot new thing, and like I need the koala toy and the koala backpack or whatever. Like there's just none of that shit. So I was like, God, like it's just shocking to me that even like some of these toy companies aren't at least just like pumping shit out for Saturday mornings. I mean, maybe kids today are doing too many different things. Like, not everybody was involved in like organized sports to the degree that they were back then, but I was just kind of shocked. So hell, I would love to see Golden Axe, take a run at a Saturday morning cartoon and put out some fucking toys and maybe some new games or something and see what it can do. But, anyway.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, when my grandkids come around, they put like YouTube on and they have like these stupid videos that they watch, like 5-minute shows. It's almost like a TV show but on YouTube. And then they'll go on like Disney and they'll watch these stupid shows. But like there's got to be like 5 people watching that. It's just crazy. But like I guess kind of the problem is, when I was a kid anyway, and I'm not too much older than you two, we had 4 channels on TV. And that was it. Satellite came in a bit later for my kids, but we had 4 channels. And so everyone watched the same dumb shit and had something to talk about. But yeah, I think it's a bit sad in a way. But, your kids don't feel that pain because you don't miss what you never had, do you? That's just normal to them. But yeah,
I guess so. What do they talk about?
I have no idea. I don't know. What do kids talk about? I don't know. Probably stabbing each other.
Cool.
What was I going to say? AD is in chat there. He's telling a nice little story about me loving Golden Axe and losing my mind and going getting meds and stuff. So you should definitely check that out. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. Have you watched Quiet on Set?
Oh. Is it a porno show?
No. You not heard of it? Oh, my God. Sparkle. Everyone's talking about it. It's American, for God's sake. It's a 5-part documentary about all the shenanigans at Nickelodeon.
Oh. No, I gotta check it out.
Yeah, Quiet on Set.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The first couple are like kind of setting you up. Then the third one just like, what the actual fuck? The third one is mental. It's all the shenanigans at Nickelodeon and what happened afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Worth a watch.
I'm guessing it was like sex-filled drug orgies or something. Don't ruin it for me, but I'm just.
I won't ruin it. Not quite sex-filled drug orgies, but.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
Maybe
You've
it's
got
not
grown-ups
worth watching,
working
but-
with kids. Let's.
Oh, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go back to a couple of news items, and then I'm going to call it. Dude. David Gyrick sent in a Mega Drive watch. And have we seen this before? Is it just something similar we've seen before? So it's a Genesis / Mega Drive watch. There's a couple of versions. It's a company called Anicorn who've combined with Sega to make some exclusive watches, Mega Drive and Genesis themed watches. Not really my thing. I don't wear a watch anymore, but I guess if you've got money to throw at a watch,
I was gonna say I
you can do
kind
it
of like it, but I kind of like the a lot of it's just a sort of brushed metal,
yeah,
minimalist-ish type thing. But then
definitely
I
minimalist.
I don't have £800 to spend on a watch either.
No.
Well, if you have a really expensive Apple Watch, you could do this one in the next story, which is a modder makes a handheld retro by combining Apple Watch and a gaming controller. And if you're, wondering, like, I wish I had that old school Zelda watch of old, well, you can kind of relive that. This guy shows how using the new emulators that are now on the iPhone, it's like a Frankenwatch console paired with a gaming controller, using playing some Game Boy games and stuff on it. Looks pretty cool. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but they're using the emulator called My Boy exclamation. Looks like there's some instructions in the story if you want to give this a whirl yourself, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the problem is as we all get older, the screens need to get bigger and bigger for playing things. So if you want a massive screen, David Gyrick has sent one in called VR Retro Gaming, and it is a guide of how to play your NES games with an emulator called 3D Sen for the MetaQuest, which presumably using the MetaQuest 3, not the 2, you can play in. So we've seen the emulators that kind of make 3D versions of NES games, and this basically takes that and overlays it in your environment using the Quest 3 AR mode. So you've got, I mean, it looks especially, it's all very well having like Mario 3 and the levels hanging in front of you in space, but then they're playing like Gradius, and that's actually pretty cool because you've got like some stars, but then the ships and all the enemies are actually flying through your room, so that's pretty cool. If you
I thought
have the hardware.
the Kid Icarus thing was pretty dope. Because you can kind of see like underneath the blocks and everything. They also kind of show like Castlevania and stuff. Like it's like kind of on the guy's like TV stand, and Simon's kind of jumping across it. This is pretty bad. It's a little shoddy looking, There's something.
Some of the colors and things look a bit wrong.
Yeah,
I guess because of the way it's trying to do transparency doesn't help, and the way the NES handles palettes.
It's pretty cool though. Pretty cool.
So one here from David Gyrick, and I have a funny feeling we've seen this before. I may be wrong. It may just be one that I watched. The insane engineering of the Game Boy. It's a 20-minute YouTube video thereabouts, and it tells you all about what makes the Game Boy tick. Literally. I'm sure we've seen it before, but it's always worth seeing again.
I think someone else had sent that in, actually. I think I saw it in the earlier stuff, and yeah, there's like, it's quite interesting compared to a lot of them where there's a sort of real in-depth look at how the screen, right down to the liquid crystals and the voltages work.
Yeah.
Not just saying, a lot of things would just be like, well, yeah, the Game Boy, to save money, they just put a 4-color LCD dot matrix in, and like, this is like, look, this is why this thing had good battery life and why they went with this screen. Here's how it really works. So yeah, kind of cool.
Physical movie rentals are still going strong at Snips. They are the last bastion of rental, apparently. The video stores resisting the rise of streaming. Now, where is this?
Yeah. This must be in like Cambodia or something.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what, man? There's still like some of those like adult bookstores. Like, well, I don't know what they call them over there, but they call them like adult bookstores here, and like they're just like video. Like you can go in there and like, I don't know. I guess I was only ever in one when I was 18 to see like what the fuck this is about, and it was like there's like little like peep show booths or something. You put some quarters in, you're being a little booth, and you can like watch pornos, and it's like 3 minutes at a time. And I think people go in there and jerk off, and there's like they'll sell like some sex toys and stuff like that, and like they sell like porno on like VHS and like or like DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. Like I have no idea who's going in and buying that stuff at this point, because everything's like basically available for free online if you want it. And those places are popping like all over my city, so I don't know if like that's the kind of rentals that people are doing, or like what the fuck's going on here? Like where do you even rent stuff? Can you rent stuff physical anymore over there?
You can hear because this is in the UK. It's it looks like it's in Bristol. They're renting DVDs. Wow.
Well, I think that's like a niche thing for like some guys with like neck tattoos and ironic mustaches or something.
Probably. But talking about Australia before, I remember one of the things that we saw down there were adult bookstores, but they'd be like, you'd see like an end wall of a building, like a big white just expanse, painted white, and then there'd be someone who'd put a sign on it or paint on it, like adult bookstore this way. And it's like,
Yeah.
really? For real? And it's just like magazines and shit like that. But over here, like, who's to say which is right and wrong? You can walk in a newsagent's over here and they'll just be there on the top shelf. Like, everyone knows they're there. Kids will go in, look at them and giggle. And like, the front cover is obscured kind of thing. But, like, we don't have specialist shops for them. They're just there. And a kid can't buy them, like, you know. And
No, and I remember like, man, this was some years ago at this point, but I remember walking in there and like the thing working at the counter was in like a little like sparkly bikini kind of. It was a man wearing like a leather vest and had like some kind of like sparkly bikini bottom on and like long fingernails and shit, and I was like, yeah, this is
I'm
not
out.
yeah.
Oh, dude, the lengths we used to go to get a dirty magazine when we were kids. I had a friend.
I just feel like
I had a friend who, like, his dad used to keep his stash in the back garden under the rabbit hutch. So, like, we'd hang out with this dude, and then he'd go, "Oh, I'm going in, like, you know, whatever. It's 9 o'clock. I gotta go in." And then once he'd gone in, we'd go around the back of his house into a field, climb over his back fence, go under his rabbit hutch, and read his dirty magazine, his dad's dirty mags in the garden while he's in the house.
Yeah, I feel like growing up here, there was always like, I don't know if there's just somebody that drove around, like there was like a service that just drove around and like dumped magazines on the side of the road.
woods.
Yeah, like you would just find, like people would just find them like stuffed in guardrails, like on the side of the road, like like there was somebody was like making a drop of like, you know, Penthouse magazines on the side of the road, like all over where I grew up. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they all come from.
Oh, Jesus.
Strange.
Yeah. Somebody dumped them. Okay, so I just want to hit a few that I know, and then I'm going to call it because it's my bedtime. And I've got to be up in the morning, for God's sake.
Way past mine.
Yeah, way past all of ours. So there's one here. Gareth Hamer sent it in. I did watch it because I subscribed to the channel. Linus Tech Tips did a video where they rank every game console, and they categorize them A, B, C, D, E, and they have S at the top. I don't agree with, you know, all the final listing. I guess nobody is going to completely agree with it, but definitely worth watching that video on Linus Tech Tips. Another one that I wanted to cover was Peter O'Brien sent this in. Unbrick your PSP. Any PSP that you've tried to mod and got bricked, you can now unbrick it. There's an article on time extension there. And Alan Hedgedas sent in a cool one. So I've got a couple of spreadsheets. They're years old, and you can save them on your work computer because, like, the file extension is .xls or XLSX or whatever. And so, you know, if work are scanning your drives or anything and looking for, you know, .x's that you're putting on the network or anything like that, you can have these spreadsheets, call them whatever you want, have them saved in your drive. And one I've got, I think, is Pac-Man. And the other maybe Tetris, but you're playing it within Excel, written in VB. And this one he's sent in is Fallout. Fallout in Excel. I don't know how much similarity it bears to the original game, having never played a Fallout game, but certainly looked interesting. I grabbed the spreadsheet today, and I will give it a look at some point.
You know what? I walk by like our accounting department. Man, I'm gonna send you this picture here. Like, I don't know if we could share it. But I was walking by and like we always like bitched it like, oh man, that accounting department, like they don't do nothing. Like we're sitting here working like crazy and like they're just fucking around most of the time. And I took a picture of this lady the other day, and she's sitting there playing Tetris like full screen on her monitors at the office, and I'm just like, exactly, like this is exactly what's happening here. Like,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
There's another good one I saw as well. What was that? That was. I just saw it then in my list, not in the inbox. Oh, rare NES game. Little Samson turned up at Goodwill, and Goodwill seem to have clued on to this kind of stuff now, and they are auctioning it themselves. Apparently, it is a fairly rare one. Has the auction finished? Is it still going? Where's the article? Can anyone see it? Rare NES game. Can't see it, can you? Maybe I dragged it out. Anyway, there's a rare
Saw
NES
your
game
old-
at Goodwill.
Saw your old co-host is trying to sell some rare Atari games online.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah. Yes, our old co-host, Mr. SoCal Mike, was on eBay up until quite recently as Arizona Stuff, selling various things. We presume all of it belongs to him. We can't vouch for it though. And he's now
not very likely.
rebranded his eBay account to, what is it, Sparkle? Game Gavel.
no, it was Chase the Chuck
Oh no,
Wagon.
Chase the Chuck Wagon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't own Game Gavel anymore. Yeah. So Arizona Stuff has
That wouldn't
been
stop him.
renamed to no, it doesn't stop him.
Yeah.
He's back on eBay as Chase the Chuck Wagon. Is it the birth of a new empire? Only time will tell.
Yeah. You know what? We got another one in. Here's just a quick link. We're not going to talk about too much, but it's building the ultimate PSP in 2024. This is a video series that was sent in. This is Macho Nacho Productions. Kind of a cool little modding thing. So we'll give a Neil sends these in every month. We'll just kind of give a link to the video if you're interested in watching another retro console mod for the PSP, which is pretty interesting here.
Yeah, I did skip through that. I don't watch every minute of that one, but yeah, it's crazy what people are doing now with, first party consoles and stuff, just completely taking pretty much all the insides out and replacing everything. You know what?
All right. You each want to grab one more and then we'll call it a night?
We can do. I will try this one, not knowing what it is. Gareth Hamer says someone had to try it. What did they have to try? An enthusiast. Oh, yeah. An enthusiast adds microtransactions to Doom. So, you collect a power-up in Doom, and it brings up a QR code on screen. And then you scan that with your phone. I don't believe anyone's taken any money from it, but yeah. We've done everything else with Doom, so why not build in microtransactions?
Damn.
Random.
Yeah, I'm just looking for something interesting that's not already been done.
You could do the
Oh, let's go
Konami
with,
code working on an
no-
N64.
Yeah, I got
well,
that
that's
one.
not the real. Yeah, it's not the real. Anyway, but I'm going with the Sexy George Lutz's games on Steam are steamy.
Oh, where's George?
He says, not much going
I've
on
not
over
seen
here.
that
Just
one."
wanted to point out some fun games I've been playing. Check out Orc Massage and Treasure of Narnia. So let's just have a quick look at what they are.
Sexy George.
I did find oh blimey. I found a VR game on Steam the other day as I was just browsing through the VR section that was just ladies' bathroom, and it's just like you just go into this women's toilet, and then they've turned all these men into bondage slaves, and there's absolutely no point to it. And yeah,
It's
there you are in VR. Whoa, she's massaging that orc, all right.
yeah.
There is
Looks
a lot
like
of
you
cool...
do like new room massages with orcs or something to anime characters.
Yeah.
Seems legit.
I will say that like there's some interesting stuff that's on that's on Steam that you're not going to see anywhere else, folks. Like some of that stuff's like pretty risky, it looks like here.
Yeah, you ain't getting this on a PlayStation or a Switch.
Yeah, Nintendo's not going to let that go.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah,
Dear me.
interesting. Nah, I'll finish up with that Konami Code one. So, 20 some years later, they somebody unlocked 25 years later, Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, which was such a fucking disappointment on the N64. They find a new way of kind of doing the Konami Code with the different buttons. So you press the up C and then the left C and blah 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 blah, and do it like with that little C pad stuff a little bit. But you can unlock it so it starts the game out with all four characters and stuff like that. So I just always think it's cool whenever somebody discovers one of these things that's been there all along for all these years, and gosh, 2.5 decades later. Too bad it couldn't make the game any better because that game just sucked. But there you go.
There you go. So the British IBM in chat has been checking out Chase the Chuck Wagon on eBay. 100% positive feedback.
Not anymore.
I said, seems like a trustworthy seller. Okay, so thank you to everyone who sent news in. And thank you for everyone who joined us. Thank you for those who joined us and left. Thank you for those who didn't join us and listened later as a podcast. That's fine too. There's much more fun when you're live, though. Anything else we need to tell you? I don't think so. I will be going to Hades next month and spending some time down there. Obviously, he's going to, completely look after me and make me like steak every day and, buy me beer and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Give you an orc massage.
The orcs are on order.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone who partook. There's a nice little closing GIF on YouTube there. If you wait long enough, it'll come up. There's an awful lag on the video on YouTube. Do you find that random?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes it feels like minutes. But anyway. We will see you next month. And every month we say it, but we will try and give you a bit more notice. It's just life gets in the way and everything gets crazy. And we don't. We only discovered we were doing this about 2 days ago, so.
Adios, muchachos.
Adios, muchachos. Random.
Good night, everybody.
Watch that boxing
Hello.
video I sent you. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.